So guys, how are I'm back with fresh video. What if Naruto was Kidnaps Rimuru in universe special movie? They say dying is normal, natural, something that shouldn't be feared because it was inevitable. Naruto wasn't denying that. No, he wasn't scared. His death was actually very normal for his world, all things considered. Being stabbed in the back, figuratively and physically, both applied for him. It wasn't surprising either now that he thought about it, but damn those eyes, those damn cheating eyes. Only something like an apex predator should have them, but the Uchiha, in general, are just puppeteers. They would be the prey, not the predator. Confirmed, adding unique skill. Apex predator. Though he shouldn't be that bothered considering it was his naivety that got him here in the first place, thinking he was his brother in all but blood, a bunch of bullshit. Emotions got in the way of seeing things right in front of him. They're unimportant in surviving. It was something he learned during the war, yet, here he was. Dying in the valley because of his inability to abandon emotions when it was most needed. He'd have to get a better hold on them next time. Confirmed, adding unique trait. Emotional control. Sucks though because his best friend Kurama is getting dragged into all of this. It wasn't his problem. Why couldn't he do one thing right? Releasing all the Biju should been easy, but no, he had to hold back against his brother. Confirmed, adding title. Host of the Kyuubi no Yoko. Damn this headache, now I'm hearing voices in my head. It is saying something about adding details. Does this mean it's creating a new body? Perhaps it's a goddess or something reincarnating me. Now that would be cool. I hope I get something like Sage mode. Now that was badass and something I don't want to retrain in. Confirmed, adding extra skill. Sage mode. Kami-sama, if you can hear me, could I stay human? I quite like looking like a regular person, though if you do reincarnate me into some other species, make them the very bottom of the food chain, I do need a challenge after all. Confirmed, generating body. Bottom of the food chain. And just like that, the hero of the 4th Ninja World War died. His killer, Sasuke, watched as his brother laid there still. 5 seconds passed before he was gone in the wind, going to fulfill his goal of being the world's enemy. Cave. Where am I? What am I? I can feel the general area around me, but I can't feel anything like warmth or coldness, wondered Naruto. He tried to look around, and after he couldn't find anything he began to just sit there. Normal people would have been more curious or worrisome, but he unconsciously made his emotions not be worried. About 10 minutes went by before Naruto heard 2 voices in his head. One was familiar, the other was brand new to him. They started arguing once they realized multiple people were trying to talk to him at one time in his head. Hey. This is my head, please be more courteous and talk one at a time, please. Now I remember Kurama, so you first, stranger please. Wait, he could almost imagine the smug grin Kurama was using. Good to see you alive, Naruto, but I am disappointed to see you have died to an Uchiha. If I was still my old prideful self, then I would have never helped you again for such a disgrace. Naruto could tell that he was mad about his defeat, and don't think I've forgiven you for choosing the bottom of the food chain. Being a mere slime is very degrading. Naruto could understand why Kurama was a little mad, after all being a slime. Since when was I a slime? Asked a weirdly calm Naruto. It seems to learn the jutsu in my old world was a bit of a waste, unless I could use chakra in this body as well. But the more important issue at the moment is that my senses are mostly dulled. That's when he remembered the stranger's voice from earlier. It started talking once it realized Naruto remembered it. I believe I can be of assistance, slime. Just use magic sense. It allows you to basically see the area around you, even without eyes. Just try to recognize the flow of the magic in the air, and you will see everything, explained the mystery voice, and then come to me. I wish to have a conversation, and that was what was all heard from the voice before being silent. This magic seems to be oddly similar to chakra, but more spiritual, mused Kurama. Try doing what you used to with wind chakra, feel the difference in the air, and try to track what's around you. Naruto saluted to the best of his ability. Hi, Kurama-sensei, I will do you proud. It was more of a mockery, but someone passing by could tell it was good-natured. Naruto let his energy go freely. They spread out everywhere in the confined area. Suddenly there was light, and with the light came noises, and that's when Naruto was able to use his sense again. From what he could observe, he was inside some kind of a cave, now to just find the thing that was speaking earlier. He let his magic spread out more and then felt a huge amount of energy near the end of the cave. It was weird because the magic he felt was suppressed, meaning that the thing would have even more than what he had felt. To compare, I would say with its magic suppressed, it's about as strong as a cage, thought Naruto as he moved towards the large number of magicules he felt. He took a quick detour to check his appearance. It was as Kurama said, he was a slime, a yellow one at that too. When he reached his destination, Naruto realized why the number of magicules was massive. There was a dragon behind some kind of barrier. It was strange, because clearly something this strong must have been able to break through it, so why didn't it? You wish to speak, Dragon-sama. Naruto wasn't stupid anymore, he could see when an opponent was too strong for him, especially in his current form. This assumption made him believe that being more diplomatic with the majestic creature would be more beneficial. "If I am in your territory, I will leave, I do not wish to die right after dying," said Naruto. The dragon merely stared at him for a long time. This did not bother Naruto, he used to be stared down by Tsunade and Sakura, nothing could scare him nowadays. "You are not scared of me, are you?" inquired the dragon. The dragon was very suspicious of the slime. For one, its number of magicules was nearly on par with his own, and he was a freaking dragon. "In that case, young one, would you like to become my successor? You would carry my name and bring honor to it. I cannot leave this cave, so it must be up to someone else to bring pride to my name, unless you have a way I could leave." It was a very sudden request. The dragon did not know why he was offering this deal to the slime. There was just something about the slime that told him that it would be the perfect candidate. "Are you sure, Dragon-sama? I do not know your name, and surely you have a child that would be better to take over the name." It certainly made more sense to Naruto for the child of the dragon to take the name. It is how he got his last name Uzumaki from his mother. "Ah, my apologies, Lime. My name is Veldora and I am the Storm Dragon. To answer your question, I do have a child, but not in the traditional sense, plus he is very annoying, always trying to destroy stuff. Anyway, may I have your name as well?" Normally Veldora would been much more emotional with others, usually, he ended up guilt-tripping them into doing what he wanted. This time though, he chose the more diplomatic way because of the way this lime was, it was much smarter than others of its kind. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki and I am from Konoha, the village hidden in the leaves. Konoha is in the elemental nations. Have you heard of this land, Veldora-sama?" asked Naruto. He knows that it is not likely that he'll ever go home, but it would be nice to know if there was a chance or not. "Well, Uzumaki Naruto, it is nice to meet you. Unfortunately, I have never heard of any of the places you mentioned, and I have lived for a very long time. This just means you have even more reason to consider my offer. It would give you something to do," said Veldora as he watched the slime stare at him. Veldora couldn't see it, but he could tell that Naruto was having a conversation with that fox spirit inside of him. It was strange when Veldora first saw the spirit while trying to communicate with the slime through mindscapes. The spirit easily outgrew his own decreased power, and it seemed like most of the beast's power was being concealed as well. "What do you think, Kurama?" Naruto asked Kurama because he was the best choice when it came to asking life-changing questions. The Kyuubi had lived for over millennia, it had to be wise in some ways, it would be something to do while we are here, it also gives us a goal. My main one before was just finding a body to use, but that can be more of a side project now. Naruto had put some thought into what he was going to do with his life here now. He may not be able to feel it, but being bored would cause many troubles, mostly headaches from Kurama complaining about doing nothing. "I'd say accept it, it will give you a title in this world, you won't have to rework your way to the top if everyone knew you were taking the legacy of a dragon. Also, I discovered some new abilities in you, but for now, I will tell you just one, just do exactly as I say." And then Kurama went on to explain how he found an ability called Apex Predator, which allowed Naruto to basically consume any monster or species and gain the traits and abilities of that creature. They would permanently disappear after that. Kurama then explained what he wanted Naruto to offer to Veldora. Naruto looked towards Veldora and started to give his proposition. "Veldora-sama, I would be honored to accept your name and live in pride of a powerful dragon." Veldora looked pleased that he considered taking his name. "However, I have an offer for you, Veldora-sama, would you like to know it?" Veldora looked confused but slowly nodded his head. "I must explain something first then," and then Naruto explained how Apex Predator worked. "So basically you want to absorb my very being into you, and your logical reasoning to me agreeing is because I would just be stuck here till I died anyway." Naruto nodded his head. There was no point in lying to the dragon. "Haha, I like you, Naruto Uzumaki. Very well, I accept your offer. As for the name that you will be taking, it will be Gufyu, roughly translates to hurricane. You are now named Naruto Uzumaki Gufyu. Now Naruto, devour me so I can be laid to rest." Naruto gave the mighty beast one last respectful nod before spreading his body out all over the entire barrier and Veldora's body. Slowly he wrapped around the entire thing and his body started compacting, shrinking down until it was just Naruto there in his slime form. "I will forever remember you, Veldora the Storm Dragon." Naruto then turned around and started looking for an exit. It turns out the cave was much larger than he had first thought. Along the way, he found many monsters, but ended up devouring them for their stats and extra abilities. Some were new to him and others that could be done in his past anyway, like the steel string from a spider monster, could be replicated with ninja wire. But he couldn't recreate the poison breath he had gotten from a giant snake monster. Once he had finally reached the exit, he came across humans. He was tempted to devour one of them to gain a more humanoid shape, but decided against it when he realized how stupid they were. It would be more harmful to even look generally like them. Instead, he opted to wait until he found a criminal to steal their body. Naruto was sure that he could edit the body to look more like his old one too. Once the humans had passed, Naruto saw the outside world. It was beautiful. It was similar to Konoha with a large forest with a couple of mountains surrounding it, including the one he just came out of. He continued on a path he had seen just outside of the mountain. He didn't know what it led to, but most paths led to some sort of civilization. Naruto needed to find somewhere to get food and sleep. After all, he could easily hunt because he was unfamiliar with the landscape or even the animals in the land, though he doesn't even know if he needs basic needs anymore. That was an issue for another time. Kurama would please stay aware for me while I walk. I am not able to feel everything around me in this form, said Naruto. This was something they had done plenty of times during the war. It was a good way to not be snuck upon. It made sense too. Kurama's range was much larger than Naruto's when it comes to sense. Very well, and then it was silent again. Naruto walked or hopped for a while before Kurama spoke again. There is a group of what appears to be monsters ahead, small fry mostly, nothing to worry about, explained Kurama. Naruto gave him a mental nod and proceeded towards the group of monsters. Depending on the type, they may or may not live in packs of some kind. When Naruto reached the monster's location, he sweat-dropped. He barely stepped out in front of them before asking to be spared. It was pathetic really. I see the monsters of this world are nowhere near the level of our home, thought Naruto. It wasn't too much of a surprise though. With monsters like the Biju walking around, it was hard to match beasts that could destroy mountains accidentally. He also heard some things that the monsters were saying. It was strange when he noticed they were referring to him in some kind of holy matter, like some kind of supreme ruler. You, there, Naruto pointed to a monster, and it quickly kneeled in front of him. What creatures are you? And why are you all acting so fearfully of me? Asked Naruto. The creature was quick to answer. We are goblins, Slime-sama, and we fear you for your tremendous power is leaking all over the place. Even a pack of Direwolves ran away earlier when they felt you, Slime-sama, explained the apparent goblin. If you wish, we will bring you to our village. It would be an honor, Slime-sama. We would provide the best hospitality possible, asked the goblin. Naruto looked at them for a few seconds before nodding, at least nodding as well as a slime could. Very well, and I do have a name. It is Naruto Uzumaki Gufu. Now lead the way. Excuse my manners, do you have a name? Asked Naruto. The goblin shook his head. No, Naruto-sama, most monsters do not possess names. The only way to get them is from humans or other powerful beings naming monsters. It gives the monster a great boost in power as well, explained the goblin from earlier. That's strange, lead the way to this village, and I shall name all of you. All the goblin's eyes bulged out of their heads slightly. The goblin slowly nodded his head. He was scared after hearing that the slime would name them all. It was incredible. Maybe he could ask if Naruto-sama would help his village. Kami knows it needed help, Naruto-sama. Naruto slightly moved to indicate that the goblin could continue. Would you be willing to help our village? Even temporarily would be greatly appreciated. We need someone who is powerful and can protect everyone. Our village is poor and run down. Surely with you by our side, Naruto-sama, we could thrive tremendously. Naruto thought about the pros and cons with Kurama in his head. Kurama thought it was a good idea, mostly because he thought it was humorous how much the goblins worship the usually bashful blonde. I agree with you, Kurama. It would also do us well to start a base of operations, so to speak, and with that, Naruto agreed to stay with goblins. They celebrated the whole way back to their village. It made Naruto smile when he saw how cheerful the goblins were. It reminded him of the gang back home, including Sasuke, before he started to become his current self. The positive thing is that I didn't turn into a brooding emo, though Kurama would kick my ass if I ever started brooding like Sasuke. His excuse would be something like the greatest Biju's container will not act like an accursed Uchiha. Naruto knew it was more of his pride being broken by Madara. Madara was the one thing that could always set Kurama off. Somewhere in another world, a certain Uchiha scared when he sneezed. Someone had been annoyingly thinking about him, probably some stupid blonde. Walking towards the village, Naruto could easily tell how bad this place was. The goblins had understated how bad it was. It was a miracle that any building was standing, and Naruto bluntly told them so. This place is a dump, and it will need a lot of work. Will you lead me to your leader? Asked Naruto. The goblin that talked to Naruto nodded. Great, then I will name you first. There was a pause as the goblin stared at Naruto in anticipation. You will be called Rigor. The goblin started crying, which confused Naruto because he had thought that he wanted a name. Do you not like the name? I can change it if you want. The goblin seemed to flip a switch and was instantly on his feet again. No, Naruto-sama, I do like the name. The name Rigor was given to my elder brother by a demon lord's underling named Jelmid, and I am very happy to continue his legacy, said Rigor. Now come with me Naruto-sama, I do not wish to keep the chief waiting. Naruto nodded and hopped with Rigor towards a tent. Inside there was another goblin, very old and very short. Naruto entered and was asked to sit on a haystack in front of the chief. Welcome, Naruto-sama, I have received word that you would be willing to keep this village under your protection. Naruto nodded. Thank you very much Naruto-sama, we are forever in your debt. If there is anything we can do to better accommodate you, don't hesitate to ask, said the elder goblin. Naruto nodded again and looked at each goblin standing in the tent and then looked at the elder goblin again. In that case, bring everyone from the village outside and I will name everyone. Afterward, please direct me where I will be staying for the meantime. The elder goblin looked like he was about to pass out from surprise. He nodded and looked towards his subordinates. Gather everyone in the middle of the village at once. Naruto-sama is willing to bless us all, said the elder goblin. There was a resounding hi. Before the goblins went out to do their jobs. Naruto exited with the elder goblin out of the tent. Once they left, outside they were able to see the large crowd of goblins standing in line. Naruto walked up to the front of the line before turning to the elder goblin. You will be named Rigord and will be the goblin lord. Then he turned around towards the line and started naming them. 3 hours later. Naruto was glad he asked where he was staying before he started naming. It was very exhausting on his reserves. During the naming process, he had learned from Kurama that he was losing magicules each time he named someone. When he asked Rigord about it, he said that Naruto was essentially sharing a part of his magicules with each monster. The stronger the monster, the more magicules it took up. He hadn't realized how many goblins there were apparently. There were goblins that came to this village after the Direwolves had killed their village. He had named the last when he heard a howl in the distance. Naruto turned towards Rigord, who had evolved and became very muscular and young looking. Rigord-san, what was that? Rigord looked towards Naruto fearfully, but remembered his rumored strength. It was very similar to Veldora the storm dragon before he disappeared. That, Naruto-sama, was a Direwolves pack. It is likely they will come here to try and get a free meal. It usually takes 10 of us to take down one, Rigord said, momentarily forgetting that everyone had evolved. Please, Naruto-sama. Let me ask the selfish request of protecting the village. He said, almost crying at the end. Naruto merely sighed. Rigord-san, did you forget I had promised to protect this village? I may not scream it out anymore, but Naruto Uzumaki Gufu does not go back on his promises. Just keep everyone in their houses and I will take care of everything, said Naruto as he left to go make preparations for the wolves. There were several ways he could do this: ninja wire, poison breath, or just spam predator. He was exhausted though, so his options were limited. Reeling in his worried emotions, Naruto calmly talked to Kurama. What do you think, Kurama? It was nice to have a second opinion on everything. It widened his vision of what he could do and couldn't do. Well, if you are as tired as you said, then it would be easiest to make them all run away at one time. You could do this in 2 ways. 1. Use my chakra to intimidate them to make them run away. It would be in their instincts to run away from stronger opponents. The second way would be to kill their leader. But here's a chance they could want revenge. The choice is up to you, explained Kurama. Naruto thought for a few seconds before coming to a decision. Well, I think using your chakra would be easier. We don't know if it would even work. We'll have to take the risk of killing the leader first. I think I'll just eat him. I'll gain a new form and maybe new allies if I can get them to serve under me. So it was decided, Naruto would try to befriend the wolves. They could work together with goblins and it would benefit the village with protection as well. Naruto hopped into the front of the village, right in front of the pack of Direwolves. Leave this village alone or I will use force to remove you from here. We do not have to fight, it's your choice, yelled Naruto to the Direwolves. Naruto hasn't covered up his plethora of magicules, so it was spreading throughout the area. Some of the wolves looked hesitant and started moving backward. The leader's pride wouldn't allow him to back down quietly. Very well, if my comrades are too scared of you, then I will come to eat you myself. The leader quickly ran towards Naruto with the intent to eat him whole. Haha. Do you think you scare me? I am the great leader of this pack. I am the strongest in the forest, yelled the leader as he was just a couple feet from Naruto. His pride had blinded him from seeing the superior monster in front of him. One of the Direwolves tried warning him. Father, yelled presumably the son of the leader. Just as the leader was about to eat Naruto, Naruto jumped back slightly and quickly went to get his free meal. Naruto's body expanded into an ocean shape and surrounded the leader's body. Some of the Direwolves went to go attack Naruto as he was consuming their leader. But the goblins started shooting arrows from the village. Do not worry, Naruto-sama. We will cover you, yelled Rigord from the front. Ready. Aim. Fire. Hundreds of arrows fell from the sky onto the pack of Direwolves. They stood no chance. The goblins were evolved, so there was more impact when being hit by an arrow. Most shots weren't lethal, but they still did damage to the pack. Soon enough the rain of arrows had stopped when Naruto completely consumed the leader. Enough. roared Naruto in his new form. He looked like the old direwolf leader, but much bigger, and his presence demanded respect. Direwolves. You will plead your loyalty to me and this village, or I will. Naruto didn't get to finish his sentence because the entire pack was in front of him with their heads down. We will pledge loyalty, Slime-sama. The entire pack said. The one that called the leader's son stepped forward. Master, I will follow you until my death. He pledged. This one was different from others. In the middle of his forehead there was a star shape. Naruto was planning to have them serve him anyway. This worked perfectly for him. Sure, why not? I'll name all of you tomorrow. Before you had arrived, I just finished naming everyone in the village. This made the Direwolves' eyes widen. To think the slime was strong enough to defeat their leader and name an entire village. Naruto ignored the surprised looks and went back to the village. Naruto-sama, that was amazing. I expected nothing less from someone as powerful as you. Cried Rigard. Everyone else was saying the same things to him. It reminded Naruto of the time he was called a hero after defeating Pain. But times, Kurama? Asked Naruto. Maybe you for you, do I have to remind you that I was still stuck on killing someone who would later become my friend? Kurama spoke in a somber tone. It probably took a hit to his pride to admit he was saddened or disturbed by his past actions. Who cares about that anymore? We're in a new world now, we can be the best of friends. Naruto yelled in his head, only to be yelled at and told they weren't best friends. Naruto just laughed off Kurama's sunnier tendencies. Naruto was picked up from the ground and tossed into the air by some of the villagers. They sang praises about the great Naruto-sama. When the Direwolves came, they were accepted with open arms after Naruto told everyone they worked for him now. Later into the night, the village wanted Naruto to give a speech. This made him slightly nervous. But he calmed himself by the time he got to the pedestal. We gather here today to celebrate the start of a new beginning. We will bring prosperity and growth to this village. We already have the backing of Direwolves, and we will continue to gain allies. Soon, everyone in this world will know we exist, and we will be a great nation. All the goblins yelled in agreement, and the Direwolves howled towards the moon. Naruto then stepped down from the pedestal and interacted with the crowd. It was around midnight when Naruto was able to break free and escape to somewhere he could sleep. He was given the best hut tent they had available. There was also a neatly placed haystack for him to rest on. Naruto sat on the haystack for 30 minutes before realizing he couldn't sleep. His body wouldn't shut down. He was aware no matter what he tried to do. His solution was to try to run on the lowest amount of magicules possible and to turn off his magic sense. Next day. Naruto's senses came back to him once he felt recharged enough. The entire time he slept he couldn't tell what was happening, but he felt better now. Naruto re-enabled his magic sense and noticed there was no one within the tent with him. He slid outside to go see if he could find Rigard. He wanted to learn more about this world and its inhabitants. When Naruto came out of the tent, he was given a lot of greetings. The villagers seemed to be working on rebuilding and making the village more fortified. Good for them. The Direwolves walked up to Naruto. The old leader's son spoke first. Master, it is great to see you awake again. Did you rest well? He asked. Yes, though I didn't sleep really. It was more of a weird shutdown phase. Anyways, bring your pack to me and I will heal and name everyone, said Naruto. The Direwolf nodded and went to gather his brethren. Naruto looked towards the crowd. Do any of you know where Rigard is? I would like some information from him. It was Rigard's son who answered him. Father is helping to build a fence around the village. Naruto-sama, you can find him on the east end of the village, said Rigor. Rigor had evolved to be taller and seemed to have gained some muscle. Now that Naruto was actually looking, everyone has evolved a bit. Most were taller and had more refined and noticeable muscles, except for Gobta, whose evolution was more in spirit than in physical change. Naruto nodded to Rigor in thanks and planned to go there after naming the Direwolves. He had a plan to slowly name each of them instead of one after another. The Direwolves returned to Naruto near the center of the village. There were a good amount of them too. A lot of goblins took Direwolves as companions. They must not have held any grudges, at least if their tails wagging was any indication. The first to get named was the old leader's son. Your name will be Ranga. How does that sound to you? Ranga nodded his head and his tail was rapidly wagging behind him. Of course, master. Any name you give me would be amazing, said Ranga. He then moved behind Naruto and let the other Direwolves step forward. Naruto had guessed that Ranga would be staying by his side. That was fine by him. It reminded him of Kiba and Akamaru. Naruto proceeded to name every direwolf one by one. This time he didn't need to rest because there were not as many wolves as there were goblins in the first place, even if the Direwolves were marginally more powerful than the goblins. After naming all the Direwolves, Naruto, with Ranga following him, went to find Rigard. He was reminded by Kurama to find out more about this land and what monsters there were. It made sense to him. Finding information was one of the main jobs of being a ninja. Naruto found Rigard near the east side of the village, instructing other goblins to build a wooden wall. It was a shitty wall, but improvements could be made later on. Rigard-san, yelled Naruto to get his attention. Could you come to find me whenever you are done with the fence? I want some info about this world. Rigurd nodded his head and went back to building the fence. Naruto turned back to go to his temporary home to wait for Rigurd. There wasn't much else to do. He looked to his side to speak with his companion. Ranga, is there anything you wish to do? Go on a walk or something in that fashion. Anything you wish to do is what I wish to do, master, answered Ranga, but since you are asking, I won't mind going for a walk. Master Naruto nodded to him and hopped on his back. Is there anywhere you want to go? Somewhere with a good view? Asked Naruto. Ranga answered yes and told him to hold on. Naruto was confused for a second before Ranga started sprinting full speed out of the village. He ran for 10 minutes before Naruto called out, "Stop Ranga. I'm going to fall off." Ranga didn't take into consideration that Naruto might not have been holding on completely, and because of that, when Ranga suddenly stopped, Naruto went flying. Naruto was thrown into a tree on the side of the path. He had scared some humans that were walking nearby. Ranga quickly ran over to Naruto and began apologizing and asking if he was alright. "It's okay Ranga, I am fine, we just need to work on your stops, they're a little too sudden to safely get off." Ranga nodded his head rapidly. Naruto turned his body to the humans who were on the path. "Sorry about that, my companion here is new to being used as a horse, where are you all heading?" said Naruto to the 3 humans that were on the path. The female of the group spoke first. Is that slime talking to us? Cable, Gito, are you hearing this too?" The female was blonde with a headband bow. She was wearing a pink shirt with a white waistband that came up to her chest. Not a clothes guy, don't know what to call this, sorry. "It seems like it was. I'm the leader of this party and I say we kill it," said one of the males. Cable, Naruto guessed. Cable had brown hair and didn't look that intimidating with most of his clothes looking worn. He wore a brown shirt and a black jacket that went from his shoulders to his stomach. On his back was a sword in a sheath. "I think you all are going insane finally, I didn't hear anything," said the other male, presumably Gito. Gito had a shade darker brown than his companion and was wearing a red bandana around his head with a green jacket underneath a brown vest. He looked just about as intimidating as Cable, which wasn't much. "Boy. Oi, don't just think you can easily kill me," yelled Naruto. The group of adventurers had to look down at the slime. "Yeah, I can talk, now quit ignoring me." Naruto already went through the phase of being ignored. No way in hell was he about to be ignored by the people he had spared before, even if they didn't know it. "Look, it has intelligence." Naruto slammed into Cable, sending him into a tree that lined the path. His friends ran to him as he was slightly unconscious. "What did I say about ignoring me? If y'all were going to talk about me, do it to my face." Naruto was annoyed before, now he was pissed. These guys just cold get the hint to quit ignoring him. "Now, my name is Naruto Uzumaki Gufu, and this here is Ranga, what are your names?" He asked. Each adventurer introduced themselves. There was Gito, Elin, and Cable. Cable was the leader and a fighter class adventurer. Gito is thief class, and Elin was a mage class. "Nice to meet you guys, so where are you guys going?" asked Naruto. Maybe there was a settlement of humans nearby. If there was, then there would be multiple reasons to go. One would be to find a body he could consume, because, as much as he likes the improvements of being a slime, being in a human body would be more comfortable for him. Another would be to see the difference between humans here and the ones back in his world. "We are just coming back from a quest in the Dwarven Kingdom, they needed some magic potions delivered. Now we're on our way to report to the guild master to receive our reward," answered the leader. "Anyways, we gotta get going now, nice meeting you, I guess, safe travels Naruto-san." Gito and Elin followed their leader's example and waved goodbyes. "What did you think of them, Ranga?" asked Naruto. Ranga said they looked pretty stupid for ignoring his master like that. "I mean the dwarves," clarified Naruto. Apologies, master, the dwarves are one of the more industrially advanced countries and are known for producing high-quality items. They are mostly friendly, except for when threatened by another force, whether it be country or monster. Their king is Dwargo, a powerful, influential, and, from what I've heard, a fair ruler. He has been said to be a master of swordsmanship," explained Ranga. To Naruto, it seemed like this nation was one of the more powerful nations in this world, similar to how Konoha was the strongest in the elemental nations 95% of the time. Naruto nodded and thanked Ranga. "I wonder how much of a fight he would give me, though I would have to start learning a sword style if I ever wanted to compete with him. Maybe we can check out this Dwarven Kingdom in a couple of days. It would be beneficial to have some trading places," mused Naruto. Kurama was surprised at how Naruto has matured, if this was a year or two ago. Naruto wold fought before thinking how it would affect his village's trade. "Let's head back to where you want to show me Ranga, but when you stop this time, do it slowly," begged Naruto. "As you wish, master." Ranga picked up the yellow slime similarly to how a female dog would to her pups, and with that, Ranga ran as fast as he could with Naruto trying to hold on. "Slow down you overgrown dog," screamed Naruto. He said he didn't want to repeat, and now this mud is going faster. I don't know what you're talking about, Master, answered Ranga. Naruto gained a tick mark on his head. The forest was filled with yells and screams of a slime trying to survive on a wild direwolf. 10 minutes later, hill overlooking village. This is beautiful, Ranga. When did you find this view? I had noticed a hill before, but never considered how nice the view would be, said Naruto as he slid off Ranga's back to the grassy ground. This almost reminds me of the Hokage monuments overlooking Konoha. Truly, Naruto was mesmerized by the view. Truthfully, I found this view while looking for areas to easily hunt this village before you killed my father, said Ranga. Naruto sweat dropped at how casually he said that. Master, where is that Konoha place you talked about? I have never heard of that nation before, and our pack used to hunt everywhere, asked Ranga. Naruto considered lying and telling he lived in seclusion, but Naruto's never been good at lying anyways, plus this might create problems later on. Ranga, what I am about to tell you must stay between you and me. You cannot speak about it to anyone until I feel the need for everyone to know, understood? Said a serious Naruto. Ranga nodded his head sternly, understanding the seriousness his master was showing. Alright, I will tell you the story of Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Gufu, the host of the nine-tailed fox, 4th Shinobi World War hero, and the human who was reincarnated as a slime, spoke Naruto. Naruto kept his word and told Ranga everything, from how unfair the academy teachers were, to his childhood of being treated less than everyone else, his formation of his genin team, his first mission out of the village, and so on. Naruto finished his tale when he told Ranga of his team brother and how he had died in the first place. Naruto stared over the village with a slightly somber look. There were memories he wishes he could forget and others he would cherish until he died. Master, said a quiet Ranga. Naruto tilted his body to better face Ranga. Master, no matter what anyone else says, you are strong, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Truly, I have found the best master anyone could ask for, said a passionate Ranga. Naruto nodded his thanks to Ranga. It was good to have some support behind him. That's right, you never heard this from me, but you are the only human since my father that I have been able to genuinely respect outside of strength, said Kurama. There is no one else I would want to spend my life with. Partner Naruto could feel how genuine the emotions of his two companions were. Aw, come on now, you're going to make me cry, Ranga. Kurama, said Naruto slightly laughing as he spoke. Come on, let's head back to the village. I told Rigard-san I wanted information about this world, said Naruto as he was lifted back onto Ranga's back. Ranga nodded to Naruto and went full speed back to the village. Luckily Naruto was a little more used to Ranga's antics at this point. Village. Ranga walked with Naruto on his back up to Rigard, who was near the middle of the town, ordering people around. Rigard-san, yelled Naruto as he asked Ranga to bring him closer to Rigard. Think you could give me the rundown of the different species of your world now? Asked Naruto. Of course, Naruto-sama, follow me to my tent, said Rigard. He led them to a tent that was slightly larger than the rest and looked like the most structurally secure house in the village. Ranga waited outside because he couldn't fit without breaking something. Rigard sat across Naruto and started to explain. First, we should probably start with the strongest creatures in all land, the demon lords. Each demon lord is rumored to be able to take on armies with ease. They have underlings underneath them that should be respected for their strength is nothing to laugh at either, since there are a lot of species everywhere. I'll break down some of the main or important ones. There are us, goblins, dryads, werewolves, orcs, lizardmen, dwarves, humans, ogres, and a plethora of different species that would take days to name. Right now the only monsters our village could handle an attack against would be neighboring villages, but that is mostly from you naming us and the Direwolf's companionship, just from what I can feel from you, Naruto-sama. I would say you are on par with some demon lords or their underlings, explained Rigard. Naruto understood. For the most part, these demon lords sounded similar to cages, and everything else didn't seem that worrisome to him. Rigard-san, do you think it would be beneficial to set up some kind of trading deal with the dwarves? I hear that their resources are plentiful and their weaponry is top-notch, said Naruto. I ask you because you are the Goblin Lord. It is your decision what you want to involve your people in a trade deal. Naruto wanted to make sure Rigard understood that he was still in charge of this village. Naruto was more like an Anbu agent, protecting it when people didn't suspect it. He may have wanted to be Hokage at one point, but that was when he was a kid and hadn't understood the responsibilities that came with leading Konoha. He would much rather take a more backseat approach to all of this. Rigard was silent for a few minutes debating the pros and cons. Eventually, he looked back up at Naruto and nodded his head. Hi, Naruto-sama. I do believe we could advance much quicker if we had resources from the dwarves. The only problem would be paying for it. Our village is very poor at this time, so we might have to do some odd jobs while there to earn money, explained Rigard. He wasn't going to deny that dealing with dwarves would be a major boost to the village, they just needed the money to get their resources. Alright, I'll head out tomorrow with Ranga to check out the Dwarven Kingdom. I should return within a couple of days of leaving, said Naruto. Rigard was about to start talking when Naruto cut him off. Don't worry about expenses, I'll do some odd jobs while there and try selling the resources I would get from killing monsters on the way there, said Naruto. Rigard nodded, agreeing with his plan. Then we will wish you the best for your travels tomorrow, Naruto-sama, said Rigard. Naruto mock saluted him and turned to go to his hut. Hopefully, this dwarven place can give us some entertainment, said Kurama from Naruto's mind. There hasn't been a single thing you've met besides that dragon that could match your power at this time, complained Kurama. Naruto mentally chuckled. Should you be happy that I'm the strongest entity around here? Or are you truly that bored that you can throw that pride away? Asked Naruto. Kurama mentally chuckled at Naruto's slight naivety of the situation. He said that everything Naruto's met was weaker than him. Not everything Kurama sensed. There were a good amount of entities he sensed that matched Naruto or surpassed him majorly. For the moment at least, the brat was going to have to train a lot to regain his strength. Kurama was going to annoy him to train back to his old strength. I'm going to have a good amount of entertainment from this world, thought Kurama. You say something, furball? Asked Naruto. No, I didn't. What was that, brat? Yelled Kurama. Naruto just laughed off his antics and cut off their link to save himself from having a headache. Are you sure you don't want any goblins to go with you, Naruto-sama? Surely you could take at least someone with you, said Rigard. It was the next day, and Naruto was just about to head out with Ranga to the Dwarven Kingdom. The plan was to get a dwarf, or multiple dwarves, to help with the reconstruction of their village. Rigard-san, it'll be fine, trust me, Ranga is strong, and I'm not too shabby myself, we should be fine and, unless we meet a dragon, nothing will happen, said Naruto. Kurama mentally facepalmed for jinxing himself. Just make sure the village is still alive by the time I return. Naruto was lifted onto Ranga's back and secured on top. He waved to the village and told Ranga to start the journey. Forest outside Dwarven Kingdom. So, how do you think I go about this? Asked Naruto as they walked through the gates. Jobs first or go straight to the king. Naruto had mused going in and acting like a teenager again, but remembered the amount of responsibility he had for the village. He was the one that had to represent the village to get a deal with the dwarves. Usually, diplomatic matters are settled first before trying to make money in another nation, remarked Kurama dryly. You'll more than likely have to meet with someone before going straight to your highness though, said Kurama. Naruto nodded and let Ranga know what the plan was. They would walk from stand to stand asking for directions to someone or somewhere they could set up a way to speak to the king. Most had said they would need to find a minister to talk to, so that's what they did. After around 3 hours of searching, they made it to a government-looking building. Inside there was a receptionist and some chairs on either side of the room. The room itself looked homely, but at the same time, it looked like a business. Naruto hopped onto Ranga and told him to slowly walk up to the receptionist so he didn't scare her. Hello? Miss. Could you assist me with something? Asked Naruto. The receptionist was busy with other papers, so she hadn't seen who was speaking. When she turned, she promptly screamed, "What are you screaming about, lady? Is it because I'm a slime? I'm pretty sure that's racist," yelled Naruto as she started throwing things at him and calling for guards. Hey. Whoa, no need for guards. I come in peace. He tried being peaceful. Guards came in from the doorway. What happened here? Are these monsters bothering you, miss? Asked the lead guard in a calm voice. The lady was shaking and wouldn't answer him. Never mind, forget I asked. He looked towards Naruto and Ranga. Alright, come on scum, we're throwing you out of here. He yelled. He ordered the other dwarven guards to pick him and Ranga up to throw them out. Normally Naruto would fought this, but he was way too confused to fight them. Ranga could easily dispatch them, but seeing his master doing nothing, he thought it wasn't worth the effort. Naruto came back to his senses once he felt he was thrown onto some grass. What in the hell? Slowly whispered Naruto. After he regained his senses, he shook his head. Haha, I guess the name monster really sticks, stated Naruto depressingly. Ranga stayed silent to let his master sort out his mind after reliving some of the abuse of his old home. Heh, you truly are an idiot, said Kurama in a mocking tone. What was that, you bastard? Yelled Naruto as he entered his mindscape. I know you're supposed to be a giant mass of just pure angriness, but have some sympathy. He yelled. Kurama merely facepalmed at Naruto and wondered where his common sense had gone. Naruto glared but still looked up. What is the one thing you haven't tried since we've arrived here? And if you say ramen, then I will beat the shit out of you, I swear to Kami, said Kurama with annoyance in his tone near the end. Naruto thought for 2 seconds before making a face of realization. Chakra? He yelled excitedly. Does that mean my chakra is one of my skill things? Asked Naruto. Kurama nodded. Yosh. Let's go test the security of this world against a henge, he said. Kurama stopped him though. What is it, buddy? First off, don't call me buddy. Second, there is a difference between the skill and your old chakra. The biggest difference is how it's made. Instead of the chakra being moved through your chakra pathways, it's in more of a center point that's in your stomach area. Plus it is not simply chakra anymore, it's a mixture of your magicules and chakra, simply put. You have even more potent chakra at your disposal. You may be able to make physical hinges, but that means so much more chakra control training. You're going to have to make the Rasengan control look like tree climbing, explained Kurama. Will I be able to use hinge still? Asked Naruto, worried because of how shot his control sounded. Depends on how rusty you've become, answered Kurama. Naruto nodded and tried hinging into a dwarf. The result was good, but he kept his blonde hair and whiskers on his cheeks. Naruto concentrated harder on his face, and then the whiskers disappeared. Awesome, we should be able to sneak in easier now, said an excited Naruto. Ranga the first would hinge you, but I don't have enough control at this time. Could you wait in the forest and wait for me to return? Asked Naruto his partner. Ranga nodded and told Naruto he would be in the forest. Naruto waved to Ranga and set out on his mission. 3 weeks later. Why is it so hard to talk to the king? I've been here for 3 weeks. Mentally screamed Naruto as he left his current odd job. He had visited Ranga after 2 days to let him know that this mission may take a while. Naruto had also asked Ranga to run back to the village to let them know he's extending his visit. Maybe because you've always been a bad ninja, you would have had problems with stealing money from a rich guy, typical hero complex, just knock out a minister and hinge into him, then you can easily get a hearing with the king, suggested Kurama. I know, but how will that look when we go to talk to him? It'd look like a terrorist in his eyes. I would be perceived as a threat to his nation's security, said Naruto, as he pointed out the flaws in Kurama's idea. Maybe I could try asking that scared receptionist again. Kurama snorted, but didn't say the idea is bad. Naruto took that as the go-ahead and start to walk towards the same building as last time. It looked the same as before, and the dramatic receptionist was helping some people. That was lucky for him. He didn't want to be thrown out again for scaring the lady. He stepped into the line and waited for his turn to be called forward. 20 minutes later and Naruto was allowed to talk to the receptionist. Hello, I was wondering if there was any way I could speak to the king about some things that could benefit the country, stated Naruto in a calm but firm tone. Could you please set up a time I could meet with him? He asked politely. The receptionist smiled and nodded her head. Yup. I can fit you in to meet with him in an hour, does that work for you? She asked kindly. Naruto nodded his head, not caring how long it took at this point. Great. You have a name I could put down? Naruto nodded his head. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Gufu, or just shorten it to Naruto Uzumaki Gufu, he said. His father's name was important to him, but he had spent most of his life as Justin Uzumaki, so he wasn't going to throw a fit if someone didn't write it down. Gufu was more important because it was someone's dying wish for him to use it. And he'd be damned to disrespect the first person nice to him in this world like that. The lady wrote some things on a piece of paper and handed it to Naruto. The paper had the number 119 on it. Please just sit over there on one of the chairs or come back in an hour for your meeting with the king, she said in a professional tone. Naruto nodded and turned to sit down. He had completed all the work his job for the day earlier and had nothing else to do. Naruto sat in a chair in the far left of the room. It gave him a better view of everyone and every exit in case something happened. 20 minutes passed before a minister walked in. He had brown hair, a split mustache, and a beard. His clothes were simple but elegant, with there being a white robe that stood up around his head and a blue undershirt. While the man walked up to the receptionist, Naruto caught his eye for a moment. The look in his eye was similar to an animal catching a seemingly helpless prey. Naruto adopted a monotone face and glared slightly. This guy is trouble, mumbled Naruto in his head to Kurama. I don't need KCM, Kurama chakra mode, to see how many negative emotions this guy has. It's rolling off him in waves, thought Naruto. Kurama told him to not die and went back to sleep, not caring what Naruto does. The guy walked up to the receptionist and said a few words. Naruto cold make out. The receptionist got a slightly worried expression and seemed to agree with whatever he was saying. She pointed at Naruto. The guy turned around and had a smug look on his face as he walked up to Naruto. Did you really think you'd get away with it, monster? He sneered. Let me introduce you to the one that will slay you. I am Vesta, a minister, and I demand you uncloak yourself. He yelled dramatically. Naruto sighed and rolled his eyes. Surprised it took them this long to realize I was hinged. Let's just get this over with, I guess, thought an annoyed Naruto. He was so close to finally meeting the king. Stupid minister. Naruto made a hand sign and then turned into his slime form again. Wow. Look at you. Finding the monster that's been in your kingdom for 3 weeks, good for you. He said in a heavily sarcastic voice. Did you want a cookie? Vesta sneered at Naruto. Don't try to lie. Obviously, you've only been here for an hour before we caught you. Now come, so we can take you to the king for your execution, said Vesta. You're being tried for impersonating a dwarf and threatening civilians, stated Vesta. Do I look like someone else? I understand the threatening civilians because of the whole receptionist thing 3 weeks ago, but who do I look like? Wondered Naruto. He also wondered if everyone received harsh punishments, or if it was just because he was a slime. It's whatever, I'll use this as a chance to talk with the king, thought Naruto as they placed him in a cage. Vesta added a piece of information that invalidated Naruto's plans, and don't even think about speaking in front of the king, I'll have a public defendant speak for you instead, said Vesta. Prick, thought Naruto. Dwarven Kingdom throne room. Naruto was carried into a room and, instantly, he could tell this was the throne room. There were 4 main structures in the room. There was one tall pedestal with 2 other pedestals below it on its side, with there being one short pedestal directly in front of it. Naruto was placed on a chair behind a fence-like wall. Along each side were guards with weapons that looked like scythes. One of the people on the lower pedestal started speaking. Your Majesty, King Gazel Dwargo will now enter. He said in a commanding tone. Vesta, to his right, went down to one knee and bowed. Naruto was a slime, so he couldn't exactly bow or go on his knees. This court case will now start. He yelled dramatically. Naruto couldn't talk, but apparently, he was going to get a public speaker to defend him. The guy didn't look that credible, and Naruto could already tell this guy wasn't going to defend him for shit. The defendant, a slime, was seen harassing the receptionist for the first time 3 weeks ago. He then came back impersonating as a dwarf and came to try and assassinate you, Your Majesty, spoke the public lawyer. Naruto had a twitch mark on his head and wanted to rip him a new one, but decided to try and still act civil. Your Majesty, if I may, I had originally come to your country to try and make some kind of deal between my village and your kingdom, said Naruto. Vesta was about to yell at Naruto to be quiet in front of the king, but Gazel raised his hand to stop him. Gazel waved at Naruto to continue. Thank you, there is a goblin village south of here that I have recently taken into my protection. As a part of this agreement, I help the village grow and prosper. Right now, we have no trade routes, no trade deals, and nothing to make a steady income for our growing village. I had come here intending to make a deal. Your Majesty, would you care to hear me out? Asked Naruto. It was completely silent after Naruto stated his point in being there. Vesta and most of the other government people look offended and disgusted by the idea of dealing with a goblin village. Gazel himself still had his monotone face, but Naruto suspected he was considering the deal, and why wouldn't he? It's not like making a deal with a village would suddenly make all of his nation's money disappear. The other occupants in the room started to talk, and talking led to yelling, and yelling led to shouting. For Naruto's execution, silence, said a very stern Gazel. Instantly it was quiet again. What do you have in mind, Naruto Uzumaki Gufu? What can your village do that would better my nation? Asked Gazel. Naruto mentally cheered that the king was a reasonable guy. Mainly we'd be able to provide wood from the surrounding forest. We'd also support you in any war that your nation gets into. There's also the trade route through our village towards several nations south of us. What we ask from you is simple. We'd like to have at least one dwarf come to our village to help us rebuild our homes. And lastly, we want to be able to work in your kingdom to make money. To buy materials from you, that is all, said Naruto in a respectful, professional voice. Gazel closed his eyes and looked like he considered the offer. Naruto was receiving glares from every individual in the room, besides Gazel himself. Minutes passed before Gazel opened his eyes and spoke. Very well, and does your village have a name, so that I can endorse it to neighboring nations? He asked. Gazel agreed because of the trading route. If he could make deals with a different demon lord domain south of Dwargon, his kingdom would easily surpass every other nation. No, not as far as I know. Whenever I return to the village, I will ask them, said Naruto. Gazel nodded. Then we will finalize our deal a while. I will consider your village as an official trade partner with our kingdom, said Gazel. He whispered to one of the people standing behind him. One looked like he tried to protest, but Gazel glared at him. Naruto nodded. Thank you for your time. Is there anything else you need from me before I return to my village? He asked. Naruto wouldn't be too surprised if they asked about his henge or how he had been able to sneak into the kingdom. No, but the dwarf that will be attending you at your village will need help before I send him on his way. His name is Kajin, and recently he had been tasked with making magic swords. Before he leaves with you, you must help him finish the order. Does this work with you? Asked Gazel. It made sense to Naruto that Gazel would want some kind of benefit towards his nation before letting Naruto take one of his resources. Yeah, that's fine by me. Is there a specific deadline you have? He asked. Within 1 week, I need 100 magic swords from Kajin. Support him correctly, and you will have the best blacksmith in all of the Dwarven Kingdom in your village, Gazel answered. If he fails, then our deal is off, spoke a stern Gazel. Very well, expect to have your swords by next week at the latest. I may be able to finish them by tomorrow though. Naruto whispered the last part to himself. Gazel heard and looked intrigued, but didn't push it. Every nation had its trade secrets that it kept from everyone, including allies. Right, then this court session is dismissed. The slime Naruto Uzumaki Gufu is not guilty and is given the right to stay in Dwargon. Gazel's voice echoed through the courtroom. None argued with the king, including the ones who were calling for Naruto's execution. Naruto bowed to the best of his ability and left. Vesta looked like someone kicked his puppy. Your Majesty, why would you let that monster go? We have no reason to be making deals with such low. He was cut off. Is this how high your ego has grown, Vesta? Do you not see the benefits of that monster? You said you had found him by feeling his magicules constantly flowing, but you missed what mattered. His power was wrapped around him, always ready to be used at a moment's notice. That slime is a trained warrior. He must have been through some kind of war to have those instincts. Explained the king with a respectful tone. Vesta numbly nodded, bowed, and left the courtroom. With Naruto. Naruto hinged again, but decided that he didn't have to stay a dwarf any longer. He looked similar to what he looked like before dying, but there were some differences. Firstly, his clothes were similar to what Anbu had worn, but fit more to his style. He had a black long-sleeve shirt with orange around the edges. His pants were also black, with a double orange stripe going down the sides. On his feet were open-toed sandals that went halfway up his shin. He didn't have the chest plate, arm guards, or even the shin guards. He felt that they would have been too restricting. The next biggest difference was his hair. There was one dark blue lightning-shaped streak that went from the root to the tip of his hair. Kurama and Naruto guessed that it came from absorbing Veldora. He thought it looked cool. His hair was the same as before he died otherwise, and he kept his whiskers. Currently, Naruto was walking around trying to find where Kajin was but hasn't had any success. Most people knew who he was, but not where. Eventually, someone had told him to go to the guards and ask one of them. They had said a guard named Kaido was his brother and knew where the blacksmith was. Naruto walked for a couple of minutes before ending back at the entrance of Dwargon. He spotted Kaido and walked up to him. "Excuse me, is your name Kaido?" he asked politely. Kaido looked a little confused, but answered anyway, "Yes, my name is Kaido, what can I do for you?" asked the dwarf. Naruto responded swiftly, "I need to know where your brother is." Kaido looked suspicious. "I need to know where his shop is, so I can be of assistance to him for the magic sword order. King Gazel had asked me to help him in return for his guarantee to be trading partners with my village," explained Naruto. Kaido was still hesitant but agreed anyway, "If you do anything to my brother, I swear." He was cut off by Naruto. Ma, you dwarves are so serious. If I wanted to kill him, I would simply done so. Why would I go to someone that would paint me as a suspect? I just wish to help your brother, that way he can assist my village," stated Naruto. Kaido slowly nodded his head. "I guess if you swear not to do any harm, I will show you where my brother is," said Kaido. Naruto smiled, "Thanks. I can tell we'll become great friends." Kaido shook his head in exasperation. "I can tell this kid is going to mentally exhaust me," thought Kaido. "Let's get going," commanded Kaido. Naruto mock saluted and followed. Kajin's blacksmith shop. "Kajin," yelled Kaido as he walked in, "I have someone that says he wishes to help with the order." "By the anvil," yelled another voice, presumably Kajin. Naruto and Kaido walked further into the blacksmith. There were 4 people in the room, one was behind the anvil, hammering a sword, and the other 3 were standing off to the side sorting goods. The man behind the anvil stood up and went to shook Naruto's hand. "Nice to meet you. My name's Kajin, what can I do for you?" he asked kindly. Naruto smiled and shook Kajin's hand. "Nice to meet you too, Kajin. My name's Naruto and I'm here to finish your magic sword order by tomorrow," he said cheerily, ignoring the insanity of his words. Kajin had wide eyes, and the other 3 looked just as surprised. "Let's get started," declared Naruto as he went to start figuring out how to make the swords. While he was doing his research, he completely ignored the looks from the other occupants of the room. Once a prankster, always a prankster, thought Kurama. His thoughts were in a slightly proud or respectful tone. "And done," said an enthusiastic Naruto. Behind him stood Kajin, Garm, Dold, and Merm. Naruto had learned their names in the past 12 hours. He had spent crafting the 100 swords. Well, it would be more accurate to say his shadow clone spent that long crafting 100 swords. The original sat on the sidelines, learning from the 4 dwarves on how to better craft weapons and gear. "Most gear would slow me down, but I've always wanted to try picking up a sword." Mom was said to be the most fearsome swordswoman during her time alive. The real question is what kind of sword I should go for. Naruto had been unconsciously thinking about this while working with the dwarves. "How did you do it? These are perfect. There is no way you crafted 100 of them so spot on in less than 24 hours, exclaimed Kajin, surprising the other 3 of the quality of the swords. "With this, I can easily have the order finished. I am forever in your debt, Naruto-san," stated Kajin while getting down on one knee. Naruto blushed and awkwardly scratched the back of his head. "Hey, no need to get down on one knee. Most of the materials were similar to some stones I had picked up because they looked cool, no idea they were special." I do have a request if you don't mind me asking, said Naruto. Kajin nodded his head eagerly, wanting to pay off his debt early. Great. Then would you be willing to come to my village with me and possibly train me in the ways of blacksmithing? Asked Naruto. He knew the king wanted to send Kajin no matter what, but Naruto didn't want that. He understood how hard it could be to leave your home, has done it himself. Kajin put his head to his chin and adopted a thinking look. He sat still for a few minutes before seemingly coming to his conclusion. I will come to your village. I needed to get an apprentice one day anyway. He turned to his companions. Would you guys like to come with? I won't make you leave Dwargon if you don't want to, said Kajin. The oldest, Garm, looked towards his brothers for their decision. Both gave him a nod of approval. We would follow you anywhere, Kajin. You're like a brother to us now. You can't escape us that easily, exclaimed a cheerful Garm. Dold stated his agreement and Murm just made a noise to signify his agreeance. Kajin slightly teared up. He wiped away any visible tears and turned to Naruto. Does that give you your answer? Asked Kajin. Naruto nodded and smiled brightly. This is great. Wait until the guys hear about this back home. He yelled excitedly, come on, let's go give Gazelle his order and be on our way, said Naruto. The others nodded and started to pack up the swords Naruto made. Outside Dwargon. Huh, that was easier than I expected. I guess I'm used to being shrouded with thanks after doing services, mused Naruto. They had just turned in the magic swords to Gazelle and his army. Gazelle had been satisfied with the quality and sent them on their way. Naruto turned to his companions. Excuse my mumbling, but are you all ready to go? He asked. They were leaving their home, after all. They all turned their heads slightly to look at their old home with nostalgia. Not going to lie to you, I'm going to miss my home dearly, but with us going with you, we have a chance to see a new world. Plus, it's not like you somehow got us banned from Dwargon, we can still visit whenever we want. Said a happy Kajin. The other three responded with similar words. Great, then let's be on our way, stated Naruto. Naruto stopped when he realized he forgot about Ranga. He tried thinking hard to remember where he was. Naruto couldn't see this, but Ranga was suddenly behind him. Naruto felt breathe on his neck and turned around. Kami. Don't scare me like that, Ranga. Yelled Naruto. Where the hell did you even come from? Exclaimed the blonde. I have no clue, master. I just felt a pull and I was instantly here. I had hoped you had an idea of what happened, explained Ranga, though it was strange because I came straight from your shadow. He trailed off. Naruto got an idea. Ranga, said Naruto, see if you can stay inside my shadow, he said. Ranga nodded. He shrunk down until he just became a tiny black flame that shrunk into Naruto's shadow. That is badass, said the blonde. I wonder if old Direwolves can do this. We'll have to test for whenever we get home. Naruto turned to his other companions. Sorry about that, shall we continue? He asked politely. The dwarves numbly nodded, still surprised at seeing the direwolf suddenly appear and then disappear. Forest 5 miles ahead. What? Cried three voices. It was the group that had met Naruto before. Behind them were giant red ants. There was another person with them, though. The figure had looked female with black hair flowing behind a mask. She wore black leggings and a skirt that split in the middle. She also wore a shirt that fit nicely around her figure and had a red symbol on the front. Strapped on her waist was a sword in a golden scabbard. The girl looked much more compassed compared to the other three. Suddenly, she turned around and wielded her sword, facing the ants. Shizu-san. Yelled the other three. Run. You can't take all of them. They exclaimed. In her head, she snorted. If I lose to ants, I'll never be able to face anyone ever again, she thought. Suddenly the now named Shizu girl's sword lit up with a flame, surprising the other three. The first of the colony rushed right to her face, only for her to swipe, and several lit up in flames. The other ants came to avenge their colony members, only to be cut down in the same efficiency. Shizu easily disposed of all their corpses, stabbing each head to ensure they were dead. She just stabbed the last when she heard someone, Elin, scream. Behind you. Shizu turned to see another ant above her, ready to pounce on its meal. She went to strike the ant with her sword, but her vision suddenly blurred, and she stumbled. No. Not now. She cried desperately in her head, not wanting to die just yet. Time slowed as the ant's claws went to strike the downed girl. Slowly it descended from the heavens, red covering all her vision. Oi, oi. Hands off the pretty lady. Yelled a voice from the side. Not that Shizu could tell. She was too absorbed in trying to stay alive somehow. Just as she was about to use her last resort, the ant was kicked out of her vision. Are you alright? Asked the same voice as before. Shizu's mask had fallen off sometime between being almost stabbed and the man kicking the ant. Shizu looked up at her savior, and the man was very handsome, more so than any man from her homeworld. Why yes, I am fine, she slightly stuttered. Damn it, Shizu does not stutter. Thank you for your help, but the ant is still alive. She pointed to her side to see it getting up. The mystery man clicked his tongue. Damn, Kurama was right, I need to train more, especially if I can't kill ants with a kick, he more so muttered to himself, but Shizu could hear him. He turned back to her. Don't worry, it'll get him this time. He smiled and gave her a thumbs up. The blonde turned and also noticed the other three. Hey. It's you guys. They looked confused. Naruto turned back into a slime for a few seconds. Remember me? He asked in a playful tone. Oh. It's that slime named Naruto we met when we were coming back from Dwargon, said Elin with her fingers on her chin. The other two made a face of recognition. Hey, it's good to see you again. Much easier to speak with someone when they're human, said Cable. Guido nodded his head in agreement. Good to see you guys too. We can catch up after I finish the bug, said Naruto. Shizu's face had a curious look on it. This man's aura screamed confidence and was similar to dragons. Naruto smirked one last time at Shizu before turning towards the giant ant. Before I begin, I just want to say. Sorry Shino, said Naruto. The others looked confused, but Naruto ignored them. Instead, his hands lighted up with a blue orb. You're lucky. I considered making the Chidori with black lightning, and that would have been much deadlier. Instead, I decided to make a better Chidori later on. You're also in luck that my control is worse, or else this would hurt a lot more. Yelled Naruto as he ran towards the ant. As the Rasengan hit the ant's armor, it cracked and split open. He continued thrusting his hand forwards until it shot out the other side. A few seconds passed before the ant exploded, its blood splattering everywhere. Whoa, since when did it do that? I thought you said I had less control. Naruto asked Kurama mentally. Less control should meant less impact. Like I had told you earlier, your chakra and magicules are now connected, remember consuming that dragon. You're actually much stronger than I am, but you lack so much control that you're still a toddler in perspective, explained Kurama. Naruto nodded to himself in understanding, but his eyes shot open when he heard how powerful he was. Holy shit, I'm going to train for a few weeks when we get back, just you wait. I'm going to make you seem like the ant compared to me. Exclaimed Naruto in a confident voice. Heh, I'll be waiting then, brat, Kurama before cancelling the link, probably going back to sleep. Naruto looked towards his companions. The blood had splashed much farther than Naruto had thought. Shizu had the most blood on her because she was the closest, but her companions still had some on them. Haha, sorry about guys, it wasn't my intent to make you all have to take baths, said Naruto apologetically. He scratched behind his head. Why don't you all come with me to my village? We may not have running water like humans, but river baths are great too, offered Naruto. That would be awesome, thanks, said Kobyl. Typically, because I'm the party leader, I would decide this, but what do you guys think? Asked Kobyl to his party members. Elin and Guido nodded their heads in agreement. They looked towards Shizu, who was staring at Naruto. Is something wrong, Shizu? Inquired Kobyl. Shizu shook her head. Sorry about that, your magic aura surprised me. Are you a dragon, Naruto? She asked in a polite tone. Naruto seemed confused. Huh? Dragon. Usually, someone would notice Kurama's aura first. Naruto mumbled the last part to himself. Anyway, to answer your question, no, I'm not a dragon, but I consumed a dragon and made his magicules mine, at least that is what I think, stated Naruto. Kurama said it's because Veldora's essence, in general, gives off this aura, explained Naruto. Naruto shook his head in exasperation. Oh, by the way, here's your mask. He handed her the mask. Do you want some help up too? He asked while extending his hand. She nodded her head and grasped it. Air so rough, but smooth at the same time, thought Shizu as she went to stand. She was on her feet for a few seconds before falling slightly. Naruto caught her before she fell far. He put her arm around his shoulder. Need some help? He asked with a cheeky smile. Shizu nodded again, appreciating the help. When she finally focused on the aura around the man, it was exploding with power. The power was uncontrolled, unrefined. If he put in the time and effort, he could be one of the strongest beings in the world. I guess it could be worse. It feels like a dragon, and that includes the aura they produce for the ones they care about. He must attach to people quickly, wonder why that is. As Shizu had her mental debate, her teammates and Naruto started to walk. Ranga jumped out of his shadow. Master, you've forgotten about the dwarves when you ran off after hearing someone scream. Would you like me to retrieve them? Asked Ranga. Naruto nodded. That would be great, thanks. Said Naruto. Ranga bowed and ran off. Outside village. Ranga and the dwarves had caught up to Naruto and his little group 5 minutes from the village. They introduced each other and had continued on their way. Shizu had also regained enough strength to walk by herself, no longer needing Naruto's help. The guard saw Naruto, and one ran to tell Rigard. Welcome back, Naruto-sama. Said the goblin. If you follow me, I'll show you our progress and where Rigard-sama is, informed the goblin. How did you know it was me? I had a whole prank ready, depressingly said Naruto, a rain cloud covering his head. His companion slightly giggled at him. He stood up suddenly. Whatever, show me what you've done, stated the suddenly normal blonde. Is this normal? That's the fastest mood swing I've ever seen, thought Shizu with mirth. She shook her head and walked forward when she saw that the group was moving. While walking, the group saw goblins working together and building better structured houses. Eh? I thought you guys didn't know how to build houses. When did you learn that? Naruto asked the goblin leading them. Well, we didn't at first. In fact, this is maybe the 15th time we've attempted to build houses. You were gone for 3 weeks, Naruto-sama. Rigard-sama organized everyone to attempt to build houses while you were away, explained the goblin. Naruto nodded in understanding and continued to walk in silence. Goblin Lord Hut House. Rigard-sama, Naruto-sama has returned, yelled the leading goblin when they walked in. The goblin bowed to Naruto's group and left. Rigard came around the corner after being called. Ah. Naruto-sama, it is good to have you back. There are some things I wanted to show you that we could change in the village, said Rigard. Naruto's face turned to confusion. Huh? Why are you asking for my approval? Questioned Naruto. Rigard looked equally as confused. Huh? Why? It's because you are the village leader. You defended us, and you said you take us under your care, surely you want to be in charge, right? Explained Rigard. Naruto shook his head in exasperation. No thanks, I'm not meant to be a leader, and I never was. It was my dream as a kid, sure, but I know now that I would do a horrible job. Instead, it'll be this village's Anbu Black Ops, which basically means I'm going to be an assassin for the village, explained Naruto. Sorry if that disappoints you, but I've seen too much darkness to be a light for the village, he said in a somber tone. The group behind him looked at him with pity, sad that their new friend went through something that affected him this much. Shizu looked at Naruto with understanding. She had a past that wasn't bright either. Pizu and Perino Shold never died, she thought depressingly. She shook her head and went back to listening to the conversation. But are you sure, Naruto-sama? Everyone already thinks you're our leader in one way or another, started Rigard. Naruto shook his head and cut him off. Then stop those rumors and make sure they listen. I'll name you the Goblin King, and there will be 4 lords underneath you. This will make the leadership easier and smoother. I don't want to lead a village anymore. That dream died when I realized I wasn't strong enough for the position, said Naruto. I should been stronger and faster. Neji never should have died, thought an angry Naruto. Boy. I thought we already went over that. Neji's death wasn't your fault. He chose that, and you crying about it is spitting on his wish. Now quit brooding and get back to talking, spoke a harsh but realistic Kurama. Naruto spoke in agreement and looked back at Rigard. Anyway, my point is that I'm not going to be the village's leader. That will be your job like it has been for years, firmly stated Naruto. Rigard began to rebuttal, but Naruto glared at him. He nodded his head in defeat. If that is what you wish, Naruto-sama, said Rigard, I will go inform the village. I will also get 4 goblins I believe would be good lords, said Rigard as he walked away. Thank God, I didn't want to lead a village. Hokage had so many wrinkles, I'd rather not look that way by the time I retire, thought Naruto. Anyways, let's go get you guys something to eat, said an excited Naruto. I wonder if they figured out how to make ramen here? He questioned as he walked away. The others followed. Huh, what a strange man. It's too bad I can't stay for longer, thought Shizu depressingly. Guess I'll enjoy it while it lasts. Shizu shook her head to clear her thoughts and saw everyone was in front of her. Wait up, she yelled. I wish I could feel this happiness for just a while longer. So, what do you guys do in your free time? We have about 5 hours until dinner is served, and wait, I can actually taste food now. Naruto's face lit up in realization. He turned to the group following him. It consisted of Shizu, Elin, and Gobta. Wait, do any of you know how to make ramen? Naruto asked in desperation. Don't get your hopes up, who in this world would know, started Kurama. I do, said Shizu. Would you like me to make some sometime? She asked nicely, but she had to jump back when Naruto was suddenly at her feet bowing. Oh, powerful and mighty Shizu-sama. Please let this peasant taste your ramen, declared Naruto passionately. Shizu laughed awkwardly, not used to such a passionate person. I'll do anything. Do you want me to massage your feet? Become your servant? I'll do anything, seriously, he begged. Shizu started to wave her hands to try and calm the blonde. Naruto-san. Just Naruto or Naruto-kun. I only let the goblins add Sama because it keeps them satisfied. Adding San makes me feel old, interrupted Naruto. Oh, alright, Naruto then, don't worry, you don't have to do anything. Consider the ramen as a gift to repay for saving me earlier, she said. If that's what you want, sure. By the way, what did happen? You seemed ready to kill the ant, but you stumbled for seemingly no reason. Can I know why? Asked Naruto innocently, uninformed of what Shizu contained. Shizu stiffened but answered anyway. I contain a spirit, a fire spirit specifically. He tries to escape my body often, but I have this mask to suppress him. She held up the mask. It masks my magical presence as well, she explained. Ah, I understand completely. I am, or was, in a similar situation. Would you like to hear my story? He asked. He didn't want pity, but he knows that growing up, he had wished that he had someone to share his pain with. Shizu nodded her head slowly, slightly surprised someone dealt with something similar to her. Great, well I'll tell you after dinner, right now, we're meant to be doing something fun. Any ideas? Asked Naruto, changing the subject. Obto raised his hand, and Naruto pointed at him to go. Naruto-sama, I have an idea. Spoke the smaller goblin, we can go picking berries in the forest. Rigard-sama likes to have fruits incorporated into everyone's meals, he says it gives the meat a better taste. Naruto nodded his head, agreeing with the idea, sure, why not? I'm not opposed to the idea, said Shizu, and Elin agreed. Well, I don't, grumbled Kurama, I thought you were going to train to get all that power under control. It didn't make sense to Kurama, one second the brat wants to become the world's strongest, and the next, he's out picking berries, he would not have his container become a farmer. His power is to be used for destroying things, not growing wheat and falling asleep in a rocking chair. I guess I could do that, where do you suggest? I don't want anyone to see, enemy or ally, asked Naruto. Naruto trusted the village, yes, but woes to say they can't be bribed for info. Or tortured for it. He's a ninja for fuck's sake. It was his job to be cautious. Why not use the cave where Veldora was? It's out of the way, and most people won't bother to check there. It made sense to Naruto, and he voiced his agreement to Kurama. He turned to tell his little group, but saw they were already picking berries. He smiled and left without saying a word. Let's go get stronger then. Thought Naruto, determined. Veldora's cave. I wonder if these plants have any significance. Thought Naruto as he continued to where Veldora used to be. They may be useful in this world. Do you remember how to make storage seals? Spoke Kurama. Of course I do. How do you think I had those stones for the magic swords yesterday? Questioned the blonde out loud. Kurama was silent. I always knew you were a little dumb, said a satisfied Naruto. Shut it. At least I'm smarter than you. You didn't even check if you had access to chakra when we first arrived. Argued the fox. The shut it, you fox, let's get back to the reason we're even here, said Naruto. Kurama smirked in victory to himself. Well, let's go over what you can and can't do, reasoned Kurama. Naruto nodded to himself. Shadow clone jutsu. 200 clones appeared, he dispelled them once he decided 200 was his maximum. Rasengan. He got a small blue ball in his hand. Let's try Sage Mode. Naruto sat on the ground and began to gather nature energy, but what he didn't notice was that he was also gathering magicules. The cave had a thick layer of magicules in it, still from when Veldora was there. Naruto continued gathering until orange rings went around his eyes, but he continued gathering unconsciously, the orange stayed, and so did his unique eyes, but around the orange rings, blue streaks began to appear, stretching into his hairline, eventually affecting his hair too. When Naruto opened his eyes, lightning could be seen flashing in them. Naruto walked over to a pool of water to get a better look at himself. That's new, he stated the obvious, I also feel stronger, do you have an explanation Kurama? Asked Naruto. Kurama hummed before answering. Well, my best guess would be that Veldora and the magicules affected your Sage Mode, guessed Kurama. It seems that the dragon is affecting you more and more. Any negative effects? Asked Naruto. Kurama was silent for a few seconds before answering. Nothing serious, just your insides being corroded from the magicules, spoke Kurama casually. Oh, okay, wait, what? He screamed out. Kurama grumbled about him being too loud. I thought I said it was nothing serious. You heal fast enough to be affected anyway, spoke Kurama casually. Why it's happening is because you have to separate your natural energy and the magicules, they don't mix well, he explained. Seriously though, there was no need to be worried, your healing is insane, he added at the end. I guess I do have pretty good regeneration, I mean fuck, I regrew a lung. Naruto walked backward, still facing the lake. Now let's see how much control I need to retrain myself. Naruto put his hand out and started to focus on using the Rasengan. A small ball formed in the middle of his hand. He tried focusing harder to make the Rasen Shuriken. Damn, all I can get is this pathetic orb. It's worse than I thought, realized Naruto. Well, what did you expect? It's similar to when you were a genin, the only difference is that you now have 1000x the reserves, explained Kurama. Naruto hummed in thought. And what was the best control method back home? Asked Naruto. It would be your Rasengan Dumbus, Kurama sweat dropped. Oh, haha, I knew that, alright. Let's get started. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Yelled Naruto. 25 duplicates of Naruto popped up around him. Alright, I want all of you to work on getting the Rasengan back to what we had before, but don't worry about Rasen Shuriken for right now, ordered Naruto. Got it, boss. Chorused Naruto's clones. They spread themselves out throughout the cave, attempting to give themselves more room to work. Maybe we should have found a bigger cave, mumbled Naruto in his mind. Well, if you know any other ones, I'm open to hearing you out, Kurama snarky replied. "Piss off," replied Naruto. He turned away from the clones and looked back at the pool of water. "Anything you think we should try, Kurama?" asked Naruto. "You did say you wanted to make an improved Chidori, how about work on that? You can get some chakra control exercise at the same time too," Kurama suggested. That was more of a bluff to try to look cooler," Naruto scratched behind his head, embarrassed. "Eh? Trying to show off for the human girl you called pretty? Is my host finally understanding women?" teased Kurama. "What?" screamed Naruto suddenly. "What gave you that idea?" he asked angrily. "Plus, I understand women." There was silence. "Naruto, I've heard a lot of bullshit in my life, especially from you. I have to tell you though, you are one of the densest humans I have ever seen. Do you know Hinata liked you? I would say she fucking loved you," said Kurama. "She what?" asked Naruto, suddenly calm. "Quit spilling bullshit. Why would Hinata like me anyway? I'm not that great," spoke Naruto softly. "Oh, quit it with the self-deprecating shit, you know you're better than that," reassured Kurama. "Yeah? Well, who do you think made me think that way? In case you don't remember, the villagers weren't exactly encouraging me to think higher of myself," said Naruto. Kurama was silent, thinking it over, but not saying anything. "Look Naruto. Aunt, that was my fault, it wasn't my intention to start an argument, let's just get back to work, okay?" Naruto asked, but Kurama could hear he was begging for him to drop it. "Yeah, okay," Kurama said, "I still need to get someone to fix him, his mental state isn't exactly the healthiest," Kurama thought to himself, so Naruto couldn't hear him. "So what are you going to try now, brat?" "I know for a fact that the Chidori will be more powerful, but I don't know how Kakashi-sensei made it," said Naruto. He hummed to himself and thought about it, though, "I do think I remember him saying something about creating Chidori when he was trying to add lightning to the Rasengan," remembered Naruto. "What do you think he tried doing to create the Chidori?" Kurama hummed and was silent for a few seconds. "I would guess that he attempted to control the pure lightning instead of adding lightning to the Rasengan," guessed Kurama. "So I should probably learn to control regular lightning before trying to add black lightning, huh?" figured Naruto. "Alright, warn me if I start to die," he asked Kurama. "Maybe," he replied. Fox," grumbled Naruto. "Well, here goes nothing." Naruto closed his eyes and tried to use a lightning jutsu. Naruto started using the most basic lightning jutsu he knew, static string technique. It creates string-like forms of lightning that the user can control. Naruto started messing around with it, attempting to get the best control of it. He would use it as a whip against the water or use it as a lasso to grab rocks around him. 4.5 hours later. Naruto was sitting on the floor, breathing hard. His clones had all dispelled that but had forgotten to make them dispel in intervals, other than being assaulted with info. Naruto was glad he had gone to the cave. His control with lightning was good enough to act as his third best element, behind water and wind. To compare them wouldn't be fair, he was still much more proficient with wind and water. "Good job, brat, you have similar control to the time after being with that pervert," congratulated Kurama. Naruto would take what he could. "Yeah, it feels great to have this control back. I feel like I could spam Rasengans for a couple of hours in a row now," spoke Naruto. He took one last breath before standing up quickly. "Well, time to get back home. I wonder if they noticed I ever left," he asked his tenant. "But the amount of dedication they have, I won't be surprised if the entire village is searching for you," answered Kurama. Naruto sweat dropped. "I can't deny that accusation," he thought, slightly worried. "Surely it couldn't be that bad." "Thanks for jinxing us, you idiot," Kurama facepalmed. "Let's just get going," spoke Naruto as he started walking out of the cave to go home. Back at the village. "So, how would we explain this to Naruto-sama?" asked Triggered. He and the goblins were standing on a hill overviewing the now burning village. The adventurers, minus Shizu for obvious reasons, were fighting a fire spirit, Ifrit specifically. "What would we even have to explain? That human came into our village and destroyed everything. It's their fault, we'll need to rebuild again," spoke a goblin. Several around them agreed. "I don't believe they intended to release Ifrit on us." The human girl looked to be in great pain before Ifrit appeared. Rigard tried defusing the situation. "That doesn't change the fact that they destroyed our village," the goblin argued back. Rigard suddenly became very serious and came up to the goblin face to face. "Are you questioning the judgment of your king? I said we leave them alone until Naruto-sama returns to the village, and that's final," he declared. The goblin stepped back and tried making himself small. "That's what I thought. Now, stand here and pray that the adventurers can stop Ifrit. With Elin, Gito, and Cable." "I don't think this is something of our level," yelled Cable as he and Gito protected Elin as she fired ice at Ifrit's clones. "Well, it's not like we can just abandon Shizu. She's a part of our group now, and we won't abandon her," yelled back Elin. "I know that. But it doesn't make fighting a spirit any less terrifying," said Cable as they moved to dodge a fireball. "Plus, what can we do? We're about 100x too weak to do any permanent damage," he argued. Just shut up and keep trying to find an opening, finally spoke Dito. They moved again to dodge a fireball, but didn't see one of Ifrit's minions behind them. The creature created a fireball and fired it at their backside. Ranga, called a voice from the side. Ranga charged into the group to get them out of the way. Ow. What the hell? Oh, it's Naruto. Cable spoke first. What was that for? He yelled after he figured out who pushed him. Naruto sweat dropped. That was so you didn't die, Dumbus, answered Naruto. Anyways, what's the situation? He asked. The three adventurers looked hesitant to answer. About that, the fire spirit in Shizu had gotten out and started destroying the village. We had sent the goblins to a hill to get out of the way as we tried to subdue him. It didn't work very well, explained Cable. Naruto laughed inside his head at the irony. I'm blaming you for this one, furball, said Naruto in his head. Kurama responded, but Naruto ignored that. Are there any weaknesses? He questioned. He seems to be more vulnerable to ice, answered Elin from behind. Naruto nodded his head in understanding. Well, I guess we're screwed, spoke Naruto. The other three screamed in shock, questioning him. How the fuck am I supposed to do anything if his only real weakness is ice? Not Haku, I can't go throwing around ice jutsus like it's nothing, explained Naruto, unless, let me ask Kurama something. Naruto sat down and entered his mindscape. Mindscape? Boy, Kurama. I have a question. He yelled at the sleeping beast. What is it, brat? He wasn't paying attention. Sleeping was much more enjoyable. If I were to use Apex Predator on Ifrit, would it consume Shizu too? He asked. In theory, no, you would essentially be taking away a life force from her, though, I believe that she and that Ifrit are similar to you and me, connected. I could be wrong. Ifrit could just be his own separate entity that leeches off a woman, Kurama explained. Naruto adopted a thinking pose. I guess we'll just have to gamble with this one, decided Naruto. Kurama looked surprised. What? Nothing, surprised you were that willing to gamble with someone else's life, explained the fox. Well, don't get me wrong, Shizu is important, but I can't risk the entire village. I'm not naive anymore where I can't see the bigger picture, answered Naruto. Kurama slightly chuckled. Heh, good to see you've matured a bit, Naruto, said Kurama. Naruto smiled at him and left the mindscape. Back outside. Okay. I have an idea, but I need to tell you all something, spoke Naruto. The three adventurers looked at him to continue. I have a way to defeat Ifrit. They looked up in excitement, but noticed Naruto didn't look as excited. The only problem is that Shizu may not make it, he finished. There was silence. What do you mean Shizu may not make it? Asked Elin quietly. Naruto looked at her. Elin looked like someone said they stabbed her mother. Naruto walked over to her and wanted to comfort her, but he didn't. Instead, he put his hands on her shoulders and looked right into her eyes. Elin, I will try my goddamn hardest to make sure she comes back to us, but I can't guarantee anything, spoke Naruto quietly. The other guys looked pained too, but Elin looked like she needed the comforting words. Naruto spoke again. I'm going to go defeat Ifrit now, okay? Elin nodded hesitantly. I hope we can all be friends after this, he spoke before turning towards Ifrit. Now, how should I go about doing this? Wondered Naruto. Kurama answered for him. Just mentally say Apex Predator, you just have to aim where you want to go, answered Kurama. Got it. Naruto walked up to Ifrit and tried getting his attention. Oi. You overgrown candlestick. He yelled. Hey, no one said he was any good at insults. Ifrit looked at him with a monotone face, underestimating Naruto. He allowed Naruto to get a couple of feet in front of him before attacking. He sent a wall of fire at Naruto. Naruto ignored the flames and charged into him. Apex Predator. He screamed in his mind with determination. Naruto's body changed from his human form to a giant wave of yellow. Ifrit tried backing out of the tidal wave, but Naruto was quicker. Swiftly Naruto surrounded Ifrit and shrunk down the size. The adventurers had looked in anticipation to see if Shizu survived or not. Naruto shrunk down to the size of a human before seemingly spitting out a body. He quickly changed into his human form and put his hand against Shizu's neck. The group of adventurers came over with the goblins following from behind. Will she be okay, Naruto? Asked Elin. She was the first to make it to Naruto and Shizu. Naruto looked hesitant to answer. She's alive, but not for long. Kurama was right. She'll only live for another 12 hours unless we do something, answered Naruto. Is there anything we can do? She asked. Everyone else finally arrived. I don't know, he stated somberly. If only I had Sage of Six Paths mode still, then we wouldn't have to worry about this shit. Everyone looked confused at what he was talking about, but Naruto ignored them and went to talk to Kurama. Mindscape. Is there anything we can do? He asked Kurama desperately. He may have accepted that she might die from being absorbed, but she has a chance now, and he won't waste it. Kurama hummed to himself before answering. Well, we could try healing her with nature energy, answered Kurama. There could be some unforeseen issues, though, he supplied. Like what? Asked Naruto. Well, it could poison her instead of helping, however, that's the only lethal concern. The other changes could be to her body itself. For example, since you are technically filtering some of my chakra into her at the same time, she may get some more beast-like attributes, explained Kurama. So, she would grow a tail? Questioned Naruto, and fox ears. That's kind of cute, but I don't know if she would appreciate it. Is there any way you could specifically change something that won't be adding new limbs? I guess I could try to. The best I could do would be whisker marks on her cheeks, answered Kurama. That should be fine. I'll deal with any anger she may have later on. Make sure you're ready, Kurama. I'll go into sage mode after I leave the mindscape, said Naruto. Kurama nodded in confirmation that he was ready. Outside. We have a solution. The only problem is that Shizu may be a little different when she is all better. Is that okay with you guys? He asked. They looked at each other before looking at Naruto. Just make sure she comes back to us, Naruto, answered Elin with Geto and Cable nodding behind her. Got it, well, here goes nothing. Naruto made 5 clones and had them sit around him to collect nature energy. Pigments came around their eyes, the blue streaks from earlier started forming, but didn't make it to his hair this time. 5 minutes passed before Naruto dispelled his clones and got all the nature energy. When they dispelled, the blue streaks shot into Naruto's hair. And the lightning gained more intensity. Naruto sat next to Shizu and placed his hand onto her stomach, slowly pumping the nature energy to try and save her. The energy could see underneath her skin and flow towards her heart. Naruto continued to give her nature energy for another 10 minutes before he stopped. It was silent as the events of the day settled in everyone's head. She should be fine now, Rigord, let's get started on rebuilding. Shell needs somewhere proper to rest, spoke Naruto eventually. Everyone nodded and the goblins walked away. Geto and Cable went to go give their assistance, while Leland stayed with Naruto and Shizu. Is there anything you can see that changed, Naruto? Asked Elin. Yeah, look at her cheeks, she gained whisker marks, answered Naruto tiredly. Elin moved closer to Shiza's face. Aw, they look so cute, but, wait, these look like. She looked back at Naruto. Why does she have similar marks to you? She asked. Now, that won't be fair to everyone else. I had said earlier that I would explain after dinner, did I not? Answered Naruto, amused when Elin started pouting. Puppy eyes jutsu won't work on me. I already had a pseudo-younger brother that tried that back in the day, he spoke. Hey. I can't be compared to a younger sibling. I'm obviously older than you. She yelled at him. Naruto just laughed. Sure, whatever you say, answered Naruto. Elin lost her angry look and smiled at Naruto. Thank you for saving her, she said genuinely. Our blonde hero could be seen in his tent attempting to cook meals, attempting because everything he made came out dry and disgusting. Why does this have to be so hard? Surely there is some kind of jutsu I could use to just make food appear. Questioned Naruto to himself. Someone still answered anyway. Naruto, you know I can help you. I know how to make ramen, spoke the voice from a bed in the corner. Naruto sighed to himself before answering. You know you weren't supposed to be moving, correct? We still don't fully know what effects you may have gotten from the nature energy. You could be growing tails right now, Shizu, answered Naruto. Besides, after you're better, you can help more. He spoke with finality. Shizu wanted to argue, but remembered how stubborn the blonde can be. Shizu had been in bed for a few days now. Tomorrow was going to be the day Naruto tried helping her around again. Shizu would argue that she was ready now, but Naruto had none of it. If you say so, I still want to thank you in some way for saving me from Ifrit. Even if I don't get out of this bed, I'm happy to be alive, she spoke expressively. Naruto brought her some water he had gotten from the river. She looked at it strangely before looking back at Naruto, questioning where it came from. Don't worry about it being dirty. I had made sure to show the others how to make clean water from rivers, he said as he helped her sit up. He put the cup on a side table and went to go help her. His arm went around Shiza's body to help set her up. Naruto couldn't see it, but Shiza's face gained some red when he did so. Again, that protective feeling, it's very comforting, so much so that I could fall asleep right now, Shizu thought in her head. Once she remembered what his point of doing that was, she turned to Naruto and smiled at him. Thank you for helping me, Naruto, she said as she drank the water. Naruto began scratching the back of his head, slightly embarrassed. It was no problem really. He smiled back at her. Oh yeah. I did say I was going to tell you how we're now similar. Shiza's face turned to confusion and then realization. Oh, I had thought you wanted to tell everyone at once. She asked. She could wait longer if it meant he didn't have to relive or retell his pain multiple times. Nah, it's fine. Would you mind if I went and got a chair quickly? I won't want to sit on your bed, it's a pretty long story, he asked his guest politely. Just because he didn't have parents to teach him manners doesn't mean he didn't have a godfather to teach him how to treat a lady. Jiraiya may have been a perv, but he was a perv who still got people to sleep with him. It's fine, you can sit on the bed if that's easier too, she said back to him. Naruto nodded in appreciation and sat near the middle of the bed. Well, where to start, what do you want to know? he asked Shizu. Shizu's first thought was to ask how he and she were similar but refrained. She decided to ask that later after she got to know Naruto more. Shizu finally answered after a few seconds, "Where are you from?" She guessed somewhere in Europe because of his blonde hair. He may have learned Japanese as a second language. "I am from the elemental nations, or specifically Konoha, the village hidden in the leaves," he answered, and then asked his own question, "Can I know where you come from?" "I'm from Tokyo, Japan," Shizu answered. "Where are the elemental nations?" "I've never heard of that place," she asked. "Well, I've never heard of this Tokyo or Japan, so my best guess would be that we're from different worlds," spoke Naruto. Shizu nodded her head to herself. It wasn't too surprising they were from different worlds. "Is there anything else you would want to know?" asked Naruto. "Can I know about your childhood?" Naruto flinched. "It's okay, you don't have to tell me," Shizu spoke quickly when she saw him flinch. Naruto shook his head. No, it's fine. Kurama is always saying to himself when he doesn't think I can hear him that I need someone to share my pain with." Naruto took deep breaths to calm himself before starting to try talking. Shizu tried stopping him again, but stopped herself when she realized that the Kurama person could be right. Sometimes she wished that someone would've been there to share her sorrows and pains. Naruto starting talking, "Where I come from, everyone is judgmental. They're like a pack of wolves hiding among sheep, ready to pounce on anyone they deem less worthy of their attention. Growing up, I was ignored, shamed, scammed, and a plethora of other things. Being a ninja village set them up to be naturally brutal from the beginning. I was put in an orphanage by my Hokage, who was the village leader, but that wasn't the best choice. I remember trying to play with the other children, but the lady in charge would tell them how I was a demon, someone trying to take their souls." Naruto stopped for a few seconds and looked over at Shizu. "You probably don't want to hear every detail, so I'll skip up till I was 13, just know that in between 4 and 13. I wasn't treated correctly." "I understand," Shizu spoke softly. She saw Naruto's hand slightly trembling. Slowly she used all her saved energy to reach over and grasp his larger hands. Naruto wasn't paying attention and was surprised to feel someone grasping his hands. He looked at Shizu and saw her smiling warmly at him. He smiled back and grasped her hand. Naruto continued with his story. "Anyways, I guess I should explain how the different ranks worked in Konoha or the elemental nations as a whole. There were the academy students who, when graduated, became genin. Then the genin would be put with 2 other genin on one squad with a jonin as the leader. I'll explain jonin later. After a few months, the genin could be opted in to take the chunin exam. Junin was the middle ground soldier of the village. They could be teachers, gate guards, or border control. After Chunin, there was Jonin. I don't remember how Chunin became Jonin, but that's what happened. The next highest ranks were Anbu and Hokage. Anbu was chosen directly by the Hokage, and the Hokage was chosen by the previous one. Naruto paused before continuing. "Anyways, my point to that was." Naruto continued talking about all his times as a genin up until his death. "I battled Sasuke and lost, but I was definitely stronger at the end." He exclaimed definitely. Shizu slightly giggled to herself. To Naruto, it sounded beautiful. He started laughing too. Once he realized he got a bit heated over the battle. "So, that's my life story. I may have left some things out, so is there anything else you want to know?" asked Naruto. Shizu nodded. "Can I know how you and I are similar?" she asked hesitantly. "Oh yeah. I completely forgot about Kurama. I'm not Ino, so I can't bring you into my mind to meet him, so I'll do the next best thing." Naruto started doing hand seals before his fingertips, starting lighting up with lightning. It was the same jutsu he had been using to learn how to control lightning before. He had been practicing while taking care of Shizu, carefully. Naruto started moving his fingers to shape the lightning. 5 minutes passed before Naruto got the final design complete. It was Kurama, with his 9 tails and everything. "Beautiful," whispered Shizu unintentionally. "Thank you, I worked hard on controlling the lightning more efficiently." Shizu's face lit up red when she realized she said that aloud. She became even redder when she realized she and Naruto were still holding hands. Naruto started speaking again. "This is my partner, Kurama. We've been together since birth, but not by choice. In all honesty, he was a real douche for most of my life. Always trying to take over my body. We became friends and partners near the ending of my life. I will forever be grateful my dad entrusted me with him," Naruto said. He looked over at Shizu and gave her a sad smile. "Sorry, Kurama and his relationship seems much better compared to yours, and Ifrit's was." Shizu shook her head before speaking to Naruto again. "Thank you for telling me about your life. If there's ever a time you need to talk to someone, I'm always available." She spoke seriously but comfortingly. "Thanks, Shizu-chan, that means a lot to me," said Naruto. Shizu's face got red again when he used an affectionate honorific. "Sure thing, Naruto-kun," she said hesitantly. Naruto did say she could use his name like that earlier, but it would still need time for her to get used to saying it. "Well, I'm going to go train some more in the cave. I'll talk to you when I get back, is that alright with you, Shizu-chan?" asked Naruto. You can do what you want, Naruto-kun. If you do see Elin in them, could you ask them to come to visit me? Asked Shizu. What? She could be bored too. Sure thing. Answered Naruto. I'll see you later, Shizu-chan. Aye, Naruto-kun. Later that day. That was some pretty fruitful training, won't you say so? Naruto asked his tenant. Kurama just grunted at him. Oh come on, you can't be that upset that I always knew what you were thinking, Naruto spoke, annoyed. Yes, I can be. That was supposed to be my job. I'm the only one who can invade privacy. He yelled defiantly before cutting off the link. And he calls me the brat, Naruto spoke aloud. I'm too tired to deal with this shit. Naruto went extra hard today, determined to make a Chidori. His Rasengan had been coming along nicely as well. He was closing in on the amount of control he had to make the Rasen Shuriken, even if it was still a long way away. Naruto couldn't wait to start cutting atoms again. Ah. Naruto heard suddenly. Naruto quickly made 3 clones and commanded them to collect nature energy, just in case. Naruto turned and ran until he came into a clearing that he heard the fighting from. Gobta was the first one he came across. On his chest was a cut, but it didn't look deep. Boy. Are you alright, Gobta? Asked Naruto. Naruto-sama. Where did you come from? Asked Gobta. Naruto shook his head. Never mind that. What's going on here? He asked urgently. Gobta was going to answer before Ranga howls could be heard from a few hundred feet away. He was battling what looked to be 2 human-like monsters with horns on their heads. Ranga looked ready to attack the 2 monsters again, but a blue wall of fire stopped him. A small girl could be seen off to the side. Presumably the one who caused the wall. Ranga, come back here. Ranga quickly turned from the 2 monsters and ran towards Naruto. Forgive me, master. This happened under my watch. He started bowing his head. No worries, Naruto still heard fighting. He turned to see Rigor fighting another monster who had a mace. Rigor, try to retreat and come back here. Rigor turned and fled to Naruto. Naruto-sama. He yelled as he got there. Rigor fell on his hands and knees from exhaustion. Forgive me, I was tired. Rigor was cut off by something splashing his face. What was that, master? I feel better already. He exclaimed. That was a potion I had been preparing with the help of Kajin and the others. They showed me how it was made, and I copied it. It's just as good or better than the dwarves version, explained Naruto. Now, what's going on here? He asked suddenly serious. The ogres had begun fighting us, accusing us of being affiliated with someone who had a mask that attacked their village. We think they may have seen Shizu before the Ifrit incident and figured that she and their perpetrator are the same people, explained Rigor. Naruto nodded his head in understanding. I understand, I will try talking with them, Naruto said. Naruto walked in front of the group and ignored Gobta's cries of not receiving a potion. Hey, you guys. I don't know why you're attacking my group, but we didn't do anything to your village. He spoke loudly. Naruto stayed a good distance away, so he couldn't be attacked by the magic user suddenly. How did you know what happened to our village? Asked the tallest and the probable leader. Naruto sweat dropped. You were yelling about how you would get revenge for your village, Naruto said. The leader looked more annoyed. I'm still going to try and kill you. He said defiantly. Naruto sighed, not wanting to deal with this right now. Okay, how about this, if I can successfully make you want to shit your pants, you'll come to my village and feast with us, and we can talk it out, Naruto said. Fine. But I'm warning you. I ain't scared of shit. The red ogre yelled back. You asked for it. The clones that had been gathering nature energy popped and Naruto instantly went into Sage mode. This was the highest amount of nature energy, and magicules Naruto had used Sage mode with. His hair shot upwards, most of his hair begun having blue lines along with his blonde hair. His eyes literally glowed with power, lightning could be seen streaking across his eyes. Around his eyes was still the orange pigment, but blue lines could be seen going into his hair. Around Naruto's body was lightning traveling from his head to his toes. There was a sudden increase in the wind around him. The clouds were a dark gray and swarmed above him. Naruto raised his hand. Lightning struck his hand. Naruto looked calm the entire time as lightning repeatedly struck his hand, creating a large ball of it. He looked directly into this red ogre's eyes. Do you wish to taste my wrath? The ogre looked hesitant but determined. He looked at Naruto and screamed to him, I'm going to avenge my comrades. I don't give a fuck if I die. He yelled as he began to pull his sword out. Suddenly something came in between the ogre and Naruto. It was the smaller of the 2 female ogres. She seemed to not want them to fight. She went up Naruto first, ignoring the lightning that struck near her body. Please don't hurt him. He doesn't know what he's doing. Forgive his ignorance. I realize that you weren't harboring the one that killed my people. She said as she started bowing to Naruto. The ogres gasped, surprised the princess would bow to someone they would call a commoner. Naruto's face was monotone, but he started losing his sage mode slowly. The lightning stopped striking, and he turned back to normal. The pink-haired ogre was still on the ground bowing. Naruto went on his knee and patted her head. Don't worry, I never planned to kill you guys. My name's Naruto, what's yours? He asked nicely. The pink-haired ogre looked surprised but relieved, she answered when she noticed him waiting for her. Nice to meet you, Naruto-san, and thank you for sparing us. I don't know if you know this Naruto-san, but monsters don't have names, answered the ogre. Naruto or Naruto-kun works, adding san makes me feel older than I am, and I had forgotten monsters don't have names, would you like me to give you guys some? Asked Naruto. This time the female ogre in front of him and the ogres in the back gasped. Why you want to name us? All at once. Are you sure Naruto-san? She asked urgently, making sure she wasn't dreaming. Of course, just let me get into sage mode to make sure I have enough magicules, answered Naruto. It took 3 minutes for him to be ready. He looked towards two ogres again. If any of you want names, come stand in front of me, he spoke. Only the pink ogre came forward. That's understandable. I'll earn all of your trust later on. Naruto turned towards the pink-haired ogre in front of him. Is there any name you want specifically? I don't know any names, Naruto-san, she spoke softly. That's fine, and like I said earlier, playing Naruto or Naruto-kun works. He looked at her closer. Your name will be Shuna. Yes, Shuna is a perfect name, Naruto decided. He felt his magicules reserves take a hit. Do you like your name? And do you feel any different? He asked, slightly concerned. He was still new to naming monsters. I love it. The now named Shuna exclaimed, I feel that my reserves have expanded exponentially, but that's about it, Shuna answered. Naruto nodded his head, expecting this. The goblins and Direwolves changed overnight while sleeping. I suspect the same may happen to you. Anyways, are you and your group willing to talk in my village? Perhaps I can convince them to accept names there, asked Naruto. Shuna turned towards her group and then looked back at Naruto. Well, technically I'm the princess. I don't like doing it, but I can order them to listen to me, answered Shuna. Still, I would love for us to come to your village. Great. Ranga, gather the others and let's get going, commanded Naruto. Yes, master. Ranga turned to relay the message to the group there. Naruto turned back to Shuna. Shuna-chan, go gather your group and they can walk behind us if they like. I understand that they may be slightly on edge and not want to have us to their backside, spoke Naruto. I will let them know, but would it be alright if I walked with you? I would like to learn more about you and your village. Shuna spoke timidly. She was naturally shy, but Naruto seemed nice. Naruto smiled, of course. Shuna smiled back and told her people the plan. They didn't look happy and kept shooting Naruto dirty looks. He just waved back awkwardly. 5 minutes passed before Shuna seemed to have gotten through to them. Sorry, Naruto-kun, my older brother won't let me walk with you at first. I eventually convinced him after threatening to cut what makes him male off, said Shuna with a sickly sweet smile. Naruto smiled hesitantly and unconsciously covered his own. Oh. And my other female companion will be joining us too. She said she would want a name eventually too, said Shuna. Does she want it now or later? Asked Naruto. I don't believe she cares, answered Shuna. Then I'll name her when we get to the village, is that okay? Asked Naruto. Shuna nodded her head. Right, well let's get going. I'll tell you about our village on the way there. Naruto turned to Ranga. Ranga, take Gobta and head back to the village. Let them know we're having guests and that they'll need to make more food for tonight's feast. Understood, master. Ranga picked Gobta and ran quickly. Gobta could barely hang on. I'm beginning to think you're trying to start a harem, spoke Kurama out of nowhere. I forgot to ask earlier, why was your brother angry we had someone that wears a mask in our village? Asked Naruto. They had been walking for a few minutes at most. Shuna and Naruto walked side by side with the other female ogre on Shuna's right side. In front of them were the male ogres that kept sending glares at Naruto as he conversed with Shuna. The other goblins walked behind Naruto and his group. Our village had been recently destroyed by a large army of orcs. When my brother was looking for survivors, he found a powerful magician that seemed to be commanding the orcs. The magician wore a mask, but since there were flames everywhere, my brother must have mistaken the masked person in your village for the magician's mask. I apologize on his behalf, explained Shuna as she ended with an apology. Naruto dismissed the apology. I can understand, when my village had been destroyed by someone, I wanted to kill them too. Of course, later on, I convinced them to realize how wrong they were. They wanted the wrong kind of peace, explained Naruto with a faraway look. He shook the thoughts out of his head. So, are these orcs strong? They must be to take out an entire village. Actually, no, orcs are one of the stupidest species in the world. They are usually disorganized and fight among themselves. They have numbers but lack leadership. If there were an orc lord, then that would explain their ability to work together. But there hasn't been an orc lord for a good amount of years, explained Shuna. Naruto silently took in all the information to keep in the back of his head. Sounds similar to the Biju, suddenly said Kurama. Naruto looked surprised. What do you mean? Is there some 11-tailed beast that controls all of your siblings and you? Questioned Naruto. He skipped 10 tails because he already knows how that one exists. No, not to boost my own ego or anything, but I could handle all the Biju by myself. I'm that much stronger than them all combined, spoke Kurama. Naruto mentally sighed about Kurama's ego. Yes, I know, I was there when we fought them, what's your point? Questioned Naruto. Kurama was just reminding him of things he already knew about. Well, think about it, if these orcs are all following one orc, then that orc must be exceptionally stronger than the rest of them, theorized Kurama. Naruto hummed to himself. Kurama had a point, and that just means Naruto will have to be ready for when the time comes to fight the orc lord. Speaking of being stronger, we should try relinking soon, my mode may be essential in this world. Advised Kurama. Naruto nodded his head, well try it when we go back to the cave again. Kurama agreed and went back to sleep. Naruto noticed Shuna trying to get his attention after he finished talking with Kurama. I'm sorry, Shuna-chan, could you repeat that? Asked Naruto. The other ogre looked annoyed someone would ignore the princess like that. Sure, Naruto-kun, I had asked what your village is like, repeated Shuna. Which one? Asked Naruto, not realizing this isn't someone Hess told his past to. Shuna also caught on and looked confused. There are multiple goblin villages you live at? She questioned. Naruto was mentally slapping himself for his slip-up. Not really, one was my original home, and the other was where I relocated, explained Naruto vaguely. Shuna still had questions though. Did you used to live in a human village? She asked. Naruto gave her a confused look before realizing they haven't seen him out of his human transformation. Naruto did a hand sign, confusing Shuna, and then there was smoke. After the smoke cleared, Naruto in his slime form could be seen sitting on the ground. Shuna looked surprised while the other female ogre looked confused. Where did Naruto-kun go? She questioned while looking around, thinking Naruto had switched himself with a nearby slime somehow. I'm right here. Spoke the slime, scaring Shuna at the same time. Why are you a slime now? She asked after calming herself down. She went over to Naruto and picked him up and held him against her chest as they continued walking. The group in front of them hadn't noticed the noise and were walking in front of them still. This feels surprisingly nice, thought Naruto to himself. And people call me the pervert, complained Kurama. I am not a pervert. Rebutted Naruto. Yes, you are, you little. Naruto cut off the link before he could say any more. He went back to explaining to Shuna why Hess is slime. This is my original form, I can change into a more human-like form because of my abilities, he tried explaining. Shuna nodded her head, but was still slightly confused. If it helps, I'm not originally from this world or plane of existence. That just made Shuna look more confused. So, are you an otherworlder? She inquired. Naruto was confused for a second before coming to a conclusion. I'm not sure what that is exactly, but sure, let's go with that. I'm from another world entirely, though it's not that different from this one honestly, explained Naruto. How are they similar? Shuna asked excitedly. She was curious about different dimensions. Sue her. For starters, there's a lot of conflicts, everyone seems to be on edge, and monsters get the shortest end of the stick. Naruto sighed before continuing. Then there are people who are similar to Jinchuriki. What are Jinchuriki? Asked the other female ogre. Naruto honestly forgot she was there. Sorry, do you want your name now? It would be easier than not calling you anything, asked Naruto politely. I do not mind, she answered. Sweet, then how about the name? Naruto paused for a few seconds, regretting that he sucked at names. He was quiet for a few seconds before making up his mind. Shion, how does the name Shion sound to you? Shion smiled and nodded her head. Thank you for that, Naruto-sama. Shuna never called Naruto-sama because she would be considered above him. She was a princess, after all. Shion addressed Naruto with Sama because she was below him in the ranking, at least in technicalities. No need for Sama, we're all friends here, right? Asked Naruto with a genuine smile on his slime face. Shuna blushed slightly at Naruto, openly declaring her as his friend. It meant a lot to her that he would be willing to be her friend. Shion nodded her head in acknowledgement. Great, now what were we talking about again? I believe it was something about Jinchuriki, is that right Naruto-kun? Asked Shuna. Naruto nodded in confirmation before continuing. Jinchuriki roughly translates to human sacrifice and is the term given to people who hold one of the 9 Biju. I've met every Jinchuriki and am one myself. They're typically seen as the weapons of the village and are a symbol of strength. Some are treated properly while others are feared. Like me, I am the last Jinchuriki along with one of my friends named B. Most of the Biju roam around the world freely without anyone attempting to capture them. They're peaceful nowadays, explained Naruto. Anything else you want to know? How does one become a Jinchuriki? It doesn't seem very pleasant, asked Shuna. Naruto's smile lost some of its happiness when he remembered how he became one. I can't speak for other Jinchuriki, but I was made a Jinchuriki the day I was born. Kurama had been mind-controlled by a Sharingan to attack my home. The 4th Hokage, my father, had tried battling Kurama before having to resort to sealing Kurama in me. My mother and father both died that night protecting me from Kurama when he tried stabbing me, explained Naruto. He slightly slumped in Shuna's arms after explaining how his life changed on the first day of being alive. Shuna was quite out of respect for Naruto to recollect his thoughts. Shion wasn't as good at reading the general vibe going on. "Bo's Kurama?" she asked, not taking into consideration Naruto may need a minute to be ready again. Naruto perked up slightly. "Kurama is the nine-tails fox that was sealed in me on the day of my birth," answered Naruto. Shion nodded her head and turned to keep walking. "Is he still there?" Shuna asked. They were getting closer to the village. "Yup. And today he's my best friend, even if he won't admit it." Naruto laughed slightly when Kurama denied it in his head. "Really? That's surprising. Was he always nice?" Shuna asked curiously. "Nope. He's still an asshole, honestly. He was even worse during my early teen years. There were multiple times where he tried to take over my body and go on a rampage." Naruto laughed to himself at remembering when Jiraiya pushed him into the valley to try and use Kurama's chakra. Good times. "That sounds horrible. How can you handle him, Naruto-kun?" Shuna asked, surprised at how bluntly Naruto spoke about having his body abducted. Naruto just laughed it off again, mostly because Kurama was denied trying to steal Naruto's puny body back then. "It's okay, Shuna-chan, honestly, we've come to an agreement since then, and we're partners for life now." "I'm happy to hear that. It's good to have someone that you can trust unconditionally." Shuna spoke earnestly. She had her people from her tribe that she would trust her life to, and maybe one day Naruto would be added to that list. "Definitely." Naruto hopped out of Shuna's arms and started walking beside them with his arms behind his head. "Enough of that mushy stuff, what do y'all do for fun?" Shuna gained a thinking pose, while Shion raised her hand as if she was at school. Naruto nodded at her to speak. "Even if she didn't have to do that, I enjoy training and sparring. I also enjoy hot springs, but I rarely get to experience those." Naruto nodded. "If you ever want to spar, let me know. I'd love to see how strong you are, Shion-chan." Shion smiled and nodded in appreciation. "What about you, Shuna-chan?" Naruto would be the last to go. I enjoy sewing or cooking the most, especially considering Shion's cooking is deadly, and I have to make meals for everyone, but you never heard that from me." She whispered the last part to Naruto and slightly giggled at Shion's confused expression. "What about you, Naruto-kun?" "My guest training, making ramen, sparring, hanging out with friends, and annoying Kurama," the blonde answered. "Oh. And I like winning verbal spars." Shuna and Shion gained a visible question mark above their heads. "Huh? What's that?" were their respective reactions. Naruto chuckled a bit before answering. "Back in my world I was known for making my enemies my friends. It was the next biggest thing I was known for besides my shadow clones. Basically, I would talk to them for about 20 minutes before they saw my side and joined me to fight a bigger enemy. It is a very bullshit technique, but it works, so I'm not going to complain." Naruto spoke with a completely straight face. Shuna and Shion just nodded their head dumbly, not fully understanding what he was talking about. "If you say so, Naruto-kun. What a powerful technique. I especially hate when you use it. I want to fight, damn it. But no. We need to create peace." "Fucking bullshit if I've ever heard it," complained Kurama. "How do you think we became partners?" Naruto asked rhetorically. "My lord. We come with horrible news. The orcs that have been rumored to take out the ogre village are on their way here. We must hurry and prepare for them. There are at least 200,000 of them we spotted." Yelled the lizardman while on his knees. He was speaking to the ruler of the lizardmen. He was an old-looking lizardman, but everyone knew how deadly he could be with his trident. On his head was a helmet with hair that went off and onto his back. And was all they got as an answer from the ruler. His daughter, who stood to his right, could see the turmoil in her father's eyes. This was something they weren't prepared for. They could put up a fight if there was less of them, but otherwise. "Impossible. There is no way orcs could be that organized," exclaimed one of the advisors that surrounded the ruler. They stood on opposite sides of each other with 3 in each line. Many other advisors agreed with the one who spoke, but another disagreed. "It is possible, if there was an orc lord amongst them," spoke an advisor on the end of his line. Everyone went silent. "An orc lord?" spoke an advisor fearfully. "It would make the most sense," said the ruler eventually. Everyone turned to him, surprised at his declaration. "I suggest we request backup. We will not win or even survive otherwise. The orc lord is known to feed off the fear of his opponents and his allies. The orcs underneath him eat anything and everything, including allies," he said regretfully. "Who should we send to ask for assistance, my lord?" asked an advisor. The lizardman's ruler thought for a few seconds before answering. "My son. Someone go fetch my son." His declaration was heard throughout the caverns. The guards that stood near the entrance bowed their heads and left to find the son. "We will have him ask neighboring goblin villages. I've heard one has recently gained an extremely powerful ally." "As you wish, my lord," was the response he received from his advisors. The guards then returned with someone walking behind them. "Ah. My son, thank you for joining us," spoke the ruler happily. His children were the light of his life, even if his son was a little arrogant. Father, why must you use such a boring title? I was given the name Gabiru for a reason. Lord Jelmid saw potential in me after all, said Gabiru as he went on his knees. He looked like every other lizardman, but with a little more muscle as well as being taller. He wore a long-sleeved shirt with yellow stripes and wore a brown chest piece. What you wish to be called makes no difference, said his father. The lizardman standing to the side of the ruler glared at Gabiru, and he glared right back. I have something I need you to do, said the ruler, ignoring the glaring match going on. And what would that be, father? Goblin Village, Naruto's tent. What the hell happened? Naruto had just begun waking up, well, more like rebooting. He was more like a computer than he probably realized, not that he knew what a computer was. Naruto-kun, you are awake. Was the first thing he heard. Suddenly, he felt himself being picked up and hugged against something soft. Are these boobs? He asked himself. He still got an answer anyways. Yes, brat, yes they are. You are living every male's dream currently. I will save this in the unforgettable memories for you, replied Kurama. Thanks, pal. Hey, wait. Don't do that. And why do you have access to my memories anyways? Naruto entered his mindscape and attempted to beat the crap out of Kurama. Kurama, of course, just laughed at his pathetic attempts and swatted him away each time. Eventually, he got bored of it. Brat, don't forget you have guests still. Oh yeah? Thanks, buddy. Kurama deadpanned at how quickly he switched moods. He watched confusedly as Naruto exited his mindscape. Sorry, what was that? Naruto fully opened his eyes this time. In front of him were 5 people he didn't recognize. Sorry, who are you guys? It is alright, Naruto-sama, considering the amount of alcohol you consumed, along with naming us, must caused you to not remember what happened, said the one with red hair. He had 2 black horns that came off the sides of his head. Red markings were coming down from his eyes to each cheek. Oh, I see, Kurama must have let me get drunk last night, Naruto grumbled. Laughter could be heard in the back of his head. So, what are your names? I don't mean to be rude, he asked. There is no offense to be taken, Naruto-sama, you have named me Benimaru, said Benimaru. Shuna-chan's brother. I am Saoi, said the one with blue hair. He had 1 horn coming from the middle of his forehead. Reminds me of Sasuke, but less annoying. I was named Kurab, good to see you in good shape, Naruto-sama, said a giant man. He looked like an average civilian from Konoha. Good, not another pretty boy. I bet we would be great drinking buddies. You named me Shuna, but I think you remember that, Naruto-kun, said Shuna cheerfully. Shuna had lost the red markings under her eyes. The 2 horns on her head lost their width but grew longer. Cute. My name was decided to be Hakiru, Naruto-sama, spoke the last person in line. Hakiru looked like an old man, but Naruto knew how much power the older generation seemed to hold underneath all the wrinkles. Hakiru's horns had shrunk, but his neck grew over his jacket. Hakiru's hair had also grown as well as his beard. Hopefully, he won't kick my ass if I ever mess up. Naruto had to look upwards for the next person speaking. You gave me the name, Shion, Naruto-sama. Shion said cheerfully. Shion's hair had grown out down to her back, and the horn on her head had become skinnier. Her eyes had also changed, they were much more vibrant than before. If Shuna is cute, then Shion is fucking hot. Holy shit. Cried Naruto in his head. You said it. Replied Kurama. Wait, no. I take it back, I mean wait ugh. Go away you stupid fox. Naruto cut off the mental link before returning to his guests. Like I said yesterday, just Naruto or Naruto-kun, that Sama shit should be for someone else entirely. No. No, master, you deserve more respect. No, thanks. Naruto-kun it is then. No, you, young man, have earned my respect for agreeing to what you did. Saoi, Benimaru, Kurab, Shion, and Hakiru spoke respectively. Fine, it's not like the goblins and Direwolves don't already do it, he whispered the last part to himself in exasperation. You had mentioned us coming to an agreement last night, what was it? Naruto was slightly worried. Was he drunk enough to offer up all his ramen? You agreed to aid us in getting revenge for our village. You said that we could work under you until we defeat the current orc lord, and then we were free to go, explained Benimaru. Naruto was mentally slapping himself. I don't want underlings, damn it. He went to open his mouth and say they weren't his to command, but someone interrupted him. Benimaru forgot to mention something. You never formally suggested or even agreed to have us serve under you. We are not held by any magic binding or contract or anything of the sort. We have just agreed to work under you for the time being, explained Hakiru. Naruto just nodded his head. If that works for you, I won't stop you I guess. Naruto shrugged his shoulders, or at least tried to, before speaking again. Do any of you know how Shizu-chan is doing? Most of the ogres, now Kijin, looked confused, but Shuna was able to answer him. Shizu-chan has been doing better since I last saw her. Last night you asked me to watch over her before you blacked out, she explained. Thank you, ill visitor. After we're done here, is there anything you guys wanted to talk about? He asked. Xian was the one who answered him. We were wondering if there were any jobs you would have us do, she asked kindly. Naruto seemed to gain a thinking expression on his slime face. What do you guys do best? I can decide from there, Naruto asked curiously. If he knew what they were good at, then it would make it simpler to give jobs that fit their strengths. Xian answered first again. I'm good at helping with either guarding or assisting others. I can fight, but I won't be good as a leader. Could I act as your assistant, Naruto-kun? She asked innocently. Naruto cold sworn he saw Shuna gain an annoyed expression for half a second, but thought he was imagining things. Eh? What would I even need an assistant for? Naruto asked confused. Naruto didn't do much of anything, what would he need assistance with? I could organize your schedule for the day, and if you ever need help physically, then I would be there, plus, I could carry you around so you don't have to walk everywhere, she spoke passionately. Those were some very basic things that he could do himself already. Being carried around by someone else just seemed petty in his eyes, but Xian seemed really into it. I guess, I was thinking about starting an Anbu ninja unit for the village, and I would need help organizing that, Naruto said to himself mostly. Saoi perked up slightly. Saoi quickly replied, Naruto-sama, I would be willing to be a part of this ninja unit if you were to start one. Stealth and infiltration are my best skills, he said. Naruto turned to him and stared at him for a few seconds. After all, this guy was claiming to be a ninja. It was something Naruto prided himself on being, even if it wasn't obvious to most. How else could he have stolen the Forbidden Scroll at 12? Because that old monkey was as perverted as your senseis, sarcastically replied Kurama. Not the point. Angrily replied Naruto. Naruto turned to speak to Saoi again. I won't mind you being a part of it. Think of yourself as a general that works underneath me. Reports go to me before you send them to Rigord, understood? If we're doing this, we do it correctly, said Naruto surprisingly serious. Saoi was undeterred and nodded in understanding. Naruto lost his seriousness before turning the other four in the room, Hikaru, Shuna-chan, Benimaru and Kurab. What would you like to do? It took them a few seconds to answer. Hikaru answered first. I had heard some young goblins that were interested in swordsmanship. I will be their sensei and set them on the correct path, Hikaru said wisely. There was an edge of danger behind his tone. Naruto shivered slightly. What about you, Benimaru? Naruto asked next. Shuna and Kurab seemed to be thinking still while Benimaru looked like he made up his mind. I wish to lead some kind of force in a military unit. Battling is something I specialize in and would excel at, Benimaru said with respect. Naruto nodded his head. We don't have any kind of military forces at the moment, so for right now, y'all be considered our one-man army. How does that sound? Naruto proposed. Benimaru just smirked and nodded in agreement. Shuna spoke next. Since someone took up being your assistant, I will be the village's clothes sewer. I'd like to be in charge of uniforms and things of the sort. It is something I take pride in being able to do. I could also assist in the kitchen if we ever need it, but otherwise, I'll be working on clothing and things similar to that, said Shuna with an annoyed tone at the beginning. Naruto either ignored or didn't notice the tone and kept going. What about you, Kurab? The big giant just shrugged his shoulders. Naruto took a few seconds to think before thinking of something. Would you like to work with the dwarves in the blacksmith? Kurab seemed to perk up and nodded his head. Great, I'm sure they'll appreciate the help. I'm going to go visit Shizu-chan for a bit if you need me. Wait till tomorrow to come to get me. I'm a little mentally exhausted. The others just nodded their heads in understanding. Shizu's tent. Shizu-chan, you in here? Naruto called as he walked in. Everything was the same as before he left a train in the cave, the bed area in the very back, kitchen to his right, and table with chairs to his left. Hi, Naruto-kun, I'm still in bed, came a voice from the back area of the tent. Naruto smiled softly and walked over to where she was. Sorry I wasn't able to take you out yesterday to go walking, some things happened. He scratched the back of his head in embarrassment as he sat on the end of the bed. How are you holding up? Naruto asked, concerned for his friend. I've had better days. Also, when were you planning on telling me about the whiskers? Eelin-chan had told me when she visited, plus, Shuna-chan mentioned them when she came last night. Care to explain? She asked innocently. Naruto awkwardly chuckled. I'm dead, Kurama. Delete all my all my memories in general when I go. Can you do that for me, pal? Naruto planned his funeral in his head already. As you wish. There was a hint of mock sadness in Kurama's tone. I had honestly forgotten about them. I remember Eelin mentioning them, but that was the least of my concern after I revived you. I wanted to make sure you were alive, plus, you look adorable with whiskers. I don't know why you're complaining. He exclaimed. It's not like he was lying either. Her old burn mark disappeared, likely fixed by Naruto accidentally, and was replaced by 3 black whisker marks on each cheek. Shizu's face went red. Naruto couldn't tell if it was anger or something else. Thank you for saving me. Yes, but were the whisker marks truly needed? It was half-hearted anger, but can you blame her? How could she be intimidating while looking adorable? She used to be feared by monsters. Someone who could control Ifrit. Now, look at her. Hey. Don't blame me. It was either that or a tail and ears, and I didn't think you wanted those. So, whiskers were the next tamest thing. He argued back, they stared each other down, neither willing to back down. It continued for a few more minutes before Shizu pouted and backed down from Naruto. Fine, if you say so, Shizu said, no longer upset. Thank you for what you did. She owes Naruto her life now, she was forever indebted to him. Naruto just waved it off. Meh, it was nothing, no need to thank me. Naruto was never one to do something for a reward, even if he did end up getting one anyway. Shizu shook her head in disagreement. Naruto, do you realize what you did? You brought me back from death's door. I wouldn't be here right now if it weren't for you. I'm willing to spend the rest of my life with you. Plus, I won't get bored. You seem to be someone who gets in trouble very often, Shizu said passionately but teasing at the end. Naruto shook his head and went to argue again. Shizu stopped him by putting her hand up in denial. Naruto just sighed and gave in while quoting one of his friends, troublesome woman. What was that? Nothing. Nothing. Good. Now help me out of bed, I feel stiff. Naruto nodded and stood up to help Shizu. She had placed herself on the edge of the bed with her legs hanging over. Naruto took one of his arms and wrapped it around her shoulders. She started standing up but lost balance quickly. Naruto held firm though, and she never fell. No need to rush, nice and easy now, Naruto encouraged. Is there anything you want to do first while you're up? He asked nicely, maybe she wanted lunch or something. Could you help me take a bath? Shizu asked innocently. Naruto didn't know if she was denser than he was, but who the hell asks that? I can help you into the bathroom and onto the toilet, but you'll have to have another female help you with changing and cleaning yourself, Naruto replied, embarrassed. He was surprised when Shizu shook her head in denial. No, you have to help me, I don't want to wait for someone else and think of it as punishment for not telling me about my whiskers, she demanded as he sat her down on the toilet. Naruto wanted to argue more but gave in, damn him and his ability to be guilt-tripped into anything. Fine. But, I'm doing this as Naruto so I don't feel as weird, Shizu just looked confused. Who is? Smoke filled the room. Once it cleared, a person was visible where Naruto was standing. In his place was a female version of Naruto now. She wore his clothes, but her hair was done up in a ponytail to keep her hair out of her face. This is Naruto, think of her as an alter ego. I had created this look while creating my sexy technique, don't ask why it was created, Naruto answered Shizu's unanswered question. Interesting, now, come help me into the tub. Yes, mom. Later that night after the bath. Naruto, you know you don't have to stay in that form, said Shizu as Naruto helped her to bed. It was nearing midnight and Naruto was planning on sleeping soon. You're right, but this is what makes me most comfortable while helping you, Naruto answered. Shizu just sighed, but accepted the excuse. Thank you for helping me, it means a lot Naruto-kun, Shizu said kindly. Naruto switched from Naruto back into a male when she was safely in bed. Seriously, think nothing of it, Shizu-chan, helping people is what I do, Naruto replied as he started leaving. Shizu smiled in his direction when he reached the door. Good night, Naruto-kun. Night, Shizu-chan. Middle of Jura Forest. Ibiru-sama. Where are we? Yelled a group of lizardmen. They had been walking for most of the day, visiting different goblin villages to ask for help. They were going to the last one, before they strangely couldn't find it. Fear not, men. I am the future leader of our tribe, and I will lead you to safety. Declared Gabiru. Internally, he knew that was a bunch of bullshit. For now, let's set up camp and begin searching again tomorrow. His decision was final, and the group of lizardmen set up camp. Someone, help me. He exclaimed internally, before falling asleep. Naruto exited the village gate before Kurama answered again. I want to relink as quickly as possible. Yes, you have improved, but it's not enough. I've severely underestimated the strength and power of individuals here. Guess that's what happens when you're used to being called the strongest being in another world, Kurama explained. Naruto nodded his head in understanding. He had asked Triggered for some books the other day on the rest of the world, and half the beings he read about would make even Madara shit his pants. You're right, and sometimes I wish I still had Sage of Six Paths mode. Truth-seeking orbs would help so much in this world. Naruto sighed to himself in dismay. Kurama seemed confused though. Wait, what, you don't have Sage of Six Paths mode? Questioned Kurama. Naruto seemed even more confused. Why would I? The lady who had spoken when he died never said anything about Sage of Six Paths mode. Naruto, think about it, what else do you have that the voice never mentioned? Kurama asked slightly mockingly. Huh? My host is an idiot, Kurama thought in dismay. I heard that, oh, wait. You're talking about chakra. Realized Naruto. Yes, there you go, do you want a piece of candy? Kurama mockingly stated. Shut it, you overgrown fox. Besides that, I think I understand what you're saying, we will try it out once we relink, said Naruto. Kurama grunted and Naruto took that as agreeing with him. They were 50 feet from the cave when Sao suddenly appeared in front of Naruto. Naruto-sama, I bring news, there is a group of lizardmen camping in the middle of the forest, they seem to be lost, but have also been talking about finding goblin villages to recruit for something. I had also spotted the army of orcs, at least 200,000, on their way towards lizardmen territory, what do you want me to do? Sao spoke in a quiet but quick voice. Naruto adopted a thinking pose before answering. I was in the process to go train to gain a stronger form, so, for right now, ignore them, I will find the lizardmen after I have finished with that. For now, go and warn Rigard of the approaching army, and that the lizardmen may try and form an alliance with us, said Naruto in a serious tone. Sao bowed his head and left. Can you see the future or something? How do you know today would be a good day to relink? Naruto was suspicious, this was too convenient for him, anything convenient typically ended in a mess. Well, why are you the only one that got to talk to the mystery voice? I died with you, plus, you're the one that dragged my ass into this dimension, Kurama answered. Naruto was confused for about 3 seconds before realizing what Kurama was implying. Did you also get unique skills? That's amazing. What did you get? Naruto questioned excitedly, this was incredible. He and Kurama were connected, so theoretically they could share skills. Well, for one, I have this skill called Great Sage. I have a guess why that happened. I believe it is because I was thanking the old man for such a great life. Normally you would hear her hymn it too, but I've blocked out the voice for you. Naruto thanked him for that. One voice was bad enough. It is a very useful skill, though a lot of times I just ignore it. It's a library that answers all your questions, explained Kurama in simple terms. What else did you get? This was game-changing, having a voice with unlimited information was just what they needed. Naruto wondered silently why Kurama hadn't told him about this before. I have a skill called Rampage which basically makes me the 10 tails for a bit, the longest I've been able to hold the form for is about 10 minutes, and, before you ask, yes, I learned this from Great Sage, you would have noticed if I used the skill, at this time, your body would probably crumble from attempting to use that much power at once. Obito was only able to be the 10 tails pseudo Jinchuriki because they had time to set it up in a safe way, explained Kurama. They had reached the cave when Naruto spoke again. That makes sense, from what I understand, Madara had been making up that plan for a couple of decades. I would be more surprised if they did that randomly and on a whim. Now, enough of that stuff, we'll think about it another time. For now, let's try relinking, Naruto suggested. Kurama agreed. Naruto sat down in the middle of the cave before giving the mental command to attempt linking. The cave lit up in a color show of yellow, orange, some red, and a distinct blue. When the light came down, Naruto could be seen in Kurama's chakra mode, but there were some major differences. He still had the slitted eyes and black bars as whiskers, but the color scheme was different in general. Is that dragon still affected you? How fucking strong was it? Kurama complained. Naruto should only have to use his powers. He was strong enough. Kurama's ego had nothing to do with this. I'm not going to complain, I look badass either way, Naruto spoke aloud. Naruto had walked over to a small puddle of water to see his reflection. He was right, the bottom of his cloak was lit up like a flame with a blue hue, while the rest of his cloak was still the standard, bright, gold. Around the collar was a dragon flowing from one end to another, his hair was still a bright yellow. The black symbols were still there as well. Why is everything here make you a badass, but I don't get an upgrade, Kurama grumbled to himself. Naruto was still in his little world checking out his look, so he didn't hear Kurama or the person that spoke next. Notice individual Kyuubi has available upgrades, proceed with upgrades. Hell yes. Kurama practically screamed, he deserved to look cooler too. Inside the mindscape, Kurama changed. For one, he got taller, and his tails grew longer. Next, all around his body was covered in armor similar to a samurai, but, instead of the purple coloring he had experienced before, it was a dark blue. In front of him appeared a giant sword as well. Well, this is cool and all, but I'm stuck in this brat's mind. Plus, if I tried escaping, it would kill him. I'm not in the mood to kill my container right now either, at least I got something I guess, Kurama complained. How would this help anyone? He couldn't interact with the outside world anymore. Notice safely remove Kyuubi to the outside world. Kurama was seriously tempted to agree and be free, but he paused himself. He also considered questioning how they would achieve that, but Great Sage had never steered him wrong before. Great Sage, what would happen to Naruto and his bond? Would we still be able to achieve our variety of modes? Kurama asked, surprisingly worried. Kurama would never say it aloud, but he cherished his and Naruto's unique bonds. None of the other tailed beasts besides B and 8 tails had anything similar. Notice individuals Kyuubi and Naruto Uzumaki Gufu will continue to be connected through a bond. Removal of Kyuubi from Naruto Uzumaki Gufu will not sever any bond. Mental speaking will continue. Proceed with the removal of Kyuubi. Make it as painless as possible, Kurama asked, anxious to see how this would go. Notice confirmed removing Kyuubi from Naruto Uzumaki Gufu. There was nothing for a couple of seconds before Kurama saw a flash and was suddenly outside. He was about the size of a wolf and kept all his tails, all the armor that was given to him was there, and there was the sword that he was given, in the outside world, in the outside world. I am in the fucking outside world again. Kurama yelled in his head, for the first time in decades, Kurama was free from any kind of confinement. Kurama turned and saw Naruto still gushing over his new looks. The fox gained a devious grin before walking up to Naruto. Naruto. Turn around quickly. Kurama exclaimed through their mental link, his goal was to prank the prankster. Kurama watched as Naruto quickly spun around and threw a kunai at him, the kunai hit him right in the eye. Ow. You, asshole. I just got this eye. Exclaimed Kurama while rolling on the floor, clutching his eye. You can be too naive at times, Kurama, remember I told you I could hear you whenever you think you're talking to yourself. I couldn't hear great sage, but I could get the general idea from what you said. I'm happy for you buddy, you can finally be free. Naruto spoke genuinely, his best friend was free and could finally have his own life. Kurama was no longer tied down to Naruto. That is true, but don't think you're getting rid of me that easily. You always attract trouble, and trouble is exactly what I need to try my new stuff, so, now you're stuck with me, brat, Kurama declared. Naruto wasn't going to complain. If this was what Kurama wanted to do, who was he to stop him? If that's what you want, sure then, just warn me before you attempt to use Rampage. I have a theory that if we're in your chakra mode, plus Sage mode, it'll survive. What do you think? Naruto's theory made sense to him, his base mode may not be able to handle it, but Kurama's chakra mode had a lot of durability, plus, if he added Sage mode like before, he would be even more durable. It might work, otherwise, you might blow up, literally, guts flying everywhere and everything. Naruto deadpanned at the bluntness of his friend. Thanks for the support, how about we try that another time? We wanted to try 6 paths mode, remember? Naruto walked into the middle of the cave again, just in case he blew up or something. Naruto activated it, and instantly Kurama could tell he did. His power figuratively and literally shot through the roof of the cave, the power flowed out of him. But it was different than when normal shinobi flex their chakra externally. The air all around Naruto was filled with a purple-looking cloud, it covered the entire cave until Naruto reined it back into himself. A singular truth-seeking orb appeared behind him. He took a couple of deep breaths before opening his eyes. How was that, Kurama? Naruto was curious. You could easily handle most monsters in this world. You'd probably destroy most lower-tier dragons. A lot of demon lord underlings won't be able to touch you. I don't have enough information to tell you how'd you do against the different demon lords, but I think you'd survive long enough to regroup if you were losing. We're still going to have to be careful if we come across that adventurer that trapped Veldora. Most of Kurama's guesses came from Great Sage. I guess he'll have to fight a demon lord or something similar to it to figure out my limit. I guess he'll try fighting that orc lord first. I've heard that it can gain strength similar to that of a demon lord. Naruto moved from sitting on the ground and let his various modes fade. He waved to Kurama to follow him and planned on finding that group of lizardmen. Do you want me to remain hidden from your friends and the villagers? Asked Kurama. Naruto shook his head in denial. Nah, they deserve to know, just be careful around Shizu-chan. I don't know how she would react to you, considering how similar our situations were. Kurama nodded and agreed to be considerate. He opened his mouth to speak again, but Naruto cut him off. And before you ask, no, if Ranga challenges you for whatever reason, you can't fight him. I expect you and him to both suck your feelings of pride up and deal with it, understood? Kurama looked annoyed but continued walking. Let's link for a while, so I can sense the group easier. Again, Naruto and Kurama quickly linked. The same cloak as before appeared with a blue flaming hue along the bottom. Did you spot them? Naruto gave Kurama a look that said, are you serious right now? Nope, our link is broken, and I can't sense anything. Yes, of course, I can sense them. I can sense everything for miles. They're about 500 feet to our northeast. Let's go see what they want. Aber's group. Do not worry, men. Your great Kabiru-sama will lead you to where we need to go. Kabiru and his men had spent the night in the cold with little to no coverage, considering they were reptilian, it was a miracle they were still alive. Currently, they were walking slightly mindlessly through the forest. They had a general plan of where they wanted to walk this time, unlike yesterday. Recently, they had felt an enormous amount of magicules that came from a mountain southwest of them. Kabiru figured he could find whoever that was and convince them with his awesomeness to show him where the last goblin village was. They walked for a few minutes before something practically teleported into their sight. It was a young man that stood around the height of 59. His body literally glowed yellow, and there was a flame near the bottom of the cloak that shone a brightly blue. To his right was a fox with 9 tails. It was about the size of a direwolf, but had a much more respect-demanding aura. The fox had blue armor that covered its body and had a sword strapped on his back vertically. "So, you guys are the group of lizardmen Saoi had met earlier?" The man asked. There was no tone in his voice, and that made him more intimidating for some reason. "They look like a bunch of chumps," the fox surprisingly said. That slightly freaked the lizardman out before remembering they were similar to crocodiles and could speak. Gabiru was able to find his voice again first among his group. "I am the great Gabiru, and these are my men. We were sent by my father, the tribe ruler, to form an alliance with a goblin village. Do you know where they are?" The lizardman practically yelled. It reminded Naruto of when he was younger. Still, he nodded his head at Gabiru's question. "I live there, would you like me to show you to the village? Be warned, however, one wrong move and I will cut you down without remorse." Naruto spoke in a voice that reinforced his threat. He was naive in his past, something Hess trying to fix, and, right now, these are strangers. This was no time to be making friends with potential enemies. He had the resolve to protect what he wanted this time around, without remorse. Gabiru rapidly nodded his head, but stopped and coughed into his hand. "Feel grateful, for you will be assisting the great Gabiru-sama." His men cheered in the back enthusiastically. What a weird group, Naruto thought to himself. "I agree," Kurama answered. "Do you think we could make soup from them? I'm kinda hungry right now." "Quite tempting, but, unfortunately, no, we may need this alliance to help with the army of orcs," Naruto wisely noted. Kurama agreed, but that didn't make him any less hungry. Naruto returned to the real world and faced a group of lizardmen. "Let's get going, I would like to see if we can strike a deal as quickly as possible." Gabiru nodded and waved his hand to indicate for his men to follow Naruto. Naruto turned around and faced them again. "Oh, by the way, the name's Naruto Uzumaki Gufu, this is Kurama," he spoke in a slightly uncaring tone. He would deal with them until Rigard either denied them or accepted them. They continued walking, not another word was spoken between the two groups. Goblin village an hour later. "I hope no one was worried I left in the morning, or, at least, I hope they aren't like Sakura and Granny. I think I may be missing more than half my brain cells from them alone." He rubbed his head from the phantom pain, and people wonder why Hess stupid at times. Damn brain damage, that's why. Naruto walked 2 feet into the village before old memories were brought to the surface. Someone had the audacity to smash him to the ground like whack-a-mole. What the hell? Who did that? He stopped mid-sentence when he saw who it was. Standing to his right was Shion with an angry expression. Her eyes told him she was worried as well. Kurama snickered at his partner's demise. "Where were you? We searched for hours after noticing you hadn't come out of your tent for hours." Shion started scolding Naruto for not telling anyone, but for especially not telling her. She was his assistant, it was her job to know where he was at all times. "Hey, whoa, chill. Don't blame me only." He pointed over at his best friend who looked betrayed. "Yell at him too. Hess the one that dragged me out of bed at 4 a.m. Naruto declared. Kurama gave him a glare for trying to blame this all on him. "That's not an excuse. From now on, I will go with you everywhere unless it's extremely important." Shion decided with determination. Naruto paled slightly. Look. You can yell at me later. Right now I have to speak to Rigard immediately." Naruto transferred into his slime form and crawled out of the hole. He was going to go back into his human form because that's what Hess most comfortable in, but Shion had other ideas. She quickly scooped him up and held him in her arms. "Don't worry about walking, Naruto-kun, I'll carry you," she said cheerfully. A rapid mood change. Naruto was going to protest, but decided against it when Shion's smile twitched and Naruto realized he might die if he refuses. "If that's what you want, Shion-chan," Naruto gave up easily. Women can be scary when they want to be. Rigard's tent. Shion carried Naruto inside the tent. Gabiru had chosen 3 of his men to join him inside. The rest stayed outside for the time being. Kurama stood outside to watch the rest of the lizardman group. "Rigard. I have some guests I'd like you to meet," Naruto announced when Shion brought him inside. Rigard's tent was spacious, but some tables could be seen throughout the tent with maps on them. Rigard was sitting at the end of a table with his advisors sitting at the sides of the table around him. One of Saoi's body doubles could be seen standing in the corner. Rigard stood up to meet the group. "Ah. Naruto-sama, welcome back," he said excitedly. "We have started making preparations per Saoi-san's suggestion." Naruto nodded his head and was glad Rigard could operate independently. "Good, what have you come up with?" Rigard moved back to the table and sat down. In front of him was a map with different pieces on them. Each piece represented a different group and where they were. These were accurate because Saoi's clones, or body doubles as he calls them, were better Naruto's in that sense. They could have real-time reports, rather than Naruto's clones, who had to pop. "We figured that working with the lizardmen would be our best choice. We have chosen to visit them in 7 days, because that's when the orc army would reach them," Rigard explained professionally. Good, we have their representative right here. Naruto stretched his body out of Shion's arms to point at Kabiru. He's a bit of an airhead and is very arrogant, but I think overall he's a good person. We'll have to send someone with him on his journey back. There's no telling how smart the person operating the orc army is. Kabiru could be intercepted and ultimately killed. That could put us in a bad position when making deals with the lizardmen. Everyone agreed with Naruto, especially Kabiru, considering he liked living. Sao stepped out of his corner. Naruto-sama, I will bring them back. Well there, I will mention that our village forces would return in 7 days to help in the battle against the orcs. Sao's suggestion was quick and right to the point. That is fine with me, however, Rigurd is the ultimate leader, so, you have to ask him. Naruto did not want to lead, Rigurd was in charge, and he would be damned if someone tried making him take over. Rigurd agreed with Sao's idea. Sao would make sure the message got across, plus, with his body doubles, he could better scout ahead in the case that there is trouble. I agree with Sao-san, for now, Naruto-sama, could you act as a scout in Sao's place? Rigurd asks, not that he needs to, he's the leader. Sure thing Rigurd-san, I'll take Shizu-chan with me, she'll enjoy moving around, and, before I leave, I'll make sure to say bye to Shuna-chan. Everyone nodded, and the meeting was dismissed. Kurama turned to Naruto as Shion carried him out. I hope you realize that the pink-haired one is going to be upset just because they were separated physically. Doesn't mean they were in the spiritual sense. Kurama would still die if Naruto did. Thanks guys, I need your support.